We will ask, would you like to lead us in the?
I certainly would.
Thank you.
Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Member Newquist. And then Dawn, will you please?
Good morning, Frankie Kratzel.
I'm here.
Sherry Newquist.
Here.
Herbert Brooks.
Here.
Dawn Bullock.
Present.
Al Mitchell. Judy Ogala. Here. And Dustin here. Present.
Okay, we have a quorum. It's good news. And then first up on the agenda, I am looking for a motion and a second for approval of minutes from the November 6th, 2025 meeting.
Motion Newquist.
Second. Motion and second. Dawn, will you please call the roll?
Frankie Kratzel.
Yes.
Sherry Newquist.
Yes.
Herbert Brooks.
Yeah.
Dawn Bullock.
Yes.
Judy Ogala. Yes. And Dustin here.
Motion carries. Next on the agenda is minutes from the December 4th, 2025 meeting. Can I get a motion and a second?
Motion Ogala. Second Bullock.
Motion Ogala, second Ortiz. Previous roll. Brooks.
Second Newquist.
Second Newquist. All in favor?
Uh,
Any objection? Okay, motion carries. On to public comment. Do we have anybody? You know, we're gonna actually just let you do it for each case. So sorry, I'm gonna skip right past that. New business. First on the agenda today is zoning case 25-028, requesting a special use permit for a commercial solar energy facility. This one's in Troy Township, commonly known as 26347 West Baltz Road, Joliet, Illinois County Board District Number 1. This has been postponed from November and December onto this meeting. I'm looking for a motion and a second to put it on the floor.
Motion,
Motion Newquist, second Ogala. Okay, we have it. I'll hand it off to Margie if you want to fill in the blanks on this one, please.
So this zoning case is a special use for a commercial solar energy facility. The address is 26347 Baltz Road in Joliet. The property is about 58 acres. Two solar facilities are proposed for this site, one being a 5 megawatt and one being a 3 megawatt, which would be about 42 to 44 acres of the subject site. The property is zoned A1 and the roads, it is bounded, it's on the westernmost edge of the county. So we have county line directly west, we have Baltz Road, and then I believe 52 curves south along the road just south of it. This zoning case actually went to the Planning and Zoning Commission back in June 17th of last year, and was originally at this meeting July 3rd of last year and has requested postponement, waiving the rights with the state statutes time limitations until today. We received objections from the Joliet Township High School District 204, the City of Joliet, the City of Shorewood, Troy Fire Protection District, and Troy Township regarding the request. In terms of their submittal, they submitted everything satisfactorily to the county, and staff recommended approval with 4 conditions. They also requested 2 variances, which were denied at the Planning and Zoning Commission. So the applicant did file an appeal that would be forthcoming. They wish to have this special use continue forward, and then they will revisit their application with our office with the appeal to the variances. Since then, they did provide a memo just summarizing everything they've heard since it went to public hearing. They tried to tailor the requests regarding some of the concerns. They offered to shorten the lifespan of the project to 25 years, to then reevaluate if residential development came closer to this property. They stated they are willing to do a pre-annexation agreement and offer easements to the Village of Shorewood, and support subdevelopment participation or preparation activities regarding this project. Within the memo, they also say, you know, in terms of these criteria, they're hoping that this would be forthcoming with an approval from the county board. If not, they would reconsider some of these offerings at that point in time. From a county standpoint, in order to, you know, encourage these, not just good faith staff would recommend adopting them potentially as conditions. Whether or not to just limit the special use project to 25 years, that's an option. And then if you wanted to offer conditions regarding requiring a pre-annexation agreement to be submitted or something to the effect of their other requirements, that would have to be added as additional conditions to the special use. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions from the committee for staff before we turn it over to the applicant? Member Brooks?
Marguerite, this states that number required mowing from 5 times to just 0 times. So there'll be no mowing taking place at all?
So what we found with solar developers is when they come forward to permitting and they are looking at their long-term operations, it does not mean they are absolutely not mowing this property at all. They are going to mow when it's appropriate. It may not be 5 times from May to October within the growing season. It may just be one time around March to mulch up the brush that's kind of the dead material to prevent any additional threat of fire. It also could be one time in October to just, again, kind of mulch up any of the stuff that's starting to die and just kind of sit on the field.
But don't you think, Marguerite, that 0 times can be misleading if they are legally and or responsible for once or twice a year? Should not it say that?
Correct, but I do want to remind the commission, you are not voting on the variances today. This is just something that was part of the request.
I get it. This
Yeah.
question. Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
No, good line of questioning. I appreciate that. So I will invite the applicant up to the microphone here. I see that you're prepared. I do want to remind everyone here today, I did skip over public comment. If you are here to speak, we're going to give you the opportunity. I just wanted to make it for each case. So you'll have the opportunity when your case comes to speak, and we'll start with this one. But please introduce yourself. Turn your microphone on. It's the button on the right.
There we go. Thank you so much to the committee, and the staff has been extraordinarily helpful in our efforts thus far. My name is Brittany Krebsbach. I am with Pivot Energy. I did prepare a short presentation today that you can see up here. It is a little bit condensed. I know that solar energy is no stranger to this board, so going to skip over some of those more general details and just focus on a sort of refresh since it has been several months, as noted. So Pivot Energy, if we can go to the next slide, please. We are a long-term owner-operator of our systems, and we are a national leader in small-scale solar projects. We have multiple projects in operation and in construction all across Illinois, of multiple types as well, commercial, rooftop, and community solar. We have them in several counties operating already, including Marion, Grundy, Kankakee, Clinton, St. Clair, LaSalle, et cetera. And we definitely strive to set ourselves apart from other developers, especially because we have more of that control being that long-term owner operator. So we are able to make more commitments and have a better line of sight into what that long-term, vegetation maintenance or community investment is going to look like. If we can go to the next slide, just to refresh on some site details. I think we may have lost our presentation on the screen. Just give the tech a moment to recover here. Well, I'll continue verbally and I just won't move on to the next slides. We're on slide 3 now. Next one, there we go. Thank you so much. So just some site details for a refresh. This Will County property is zoned agriculture. So we are going for a special use and a temporary land use of a commercial solar facility on this site. We have reduced the project lifespan from 40 years. That's generally what we see with these projects to 25 to better mitigate future residential and other expansion in the area. We are located, I think, just over half a mile from current Village of Shorewood corporate boundaries. This permit application and site plan was obviously prepared in compliance with local Will County ordinances and state law. Our project boundary is just over 40 acres of our 60-ish acre parcel. Of course, we have the siting law setbacks of 50 feet from right-of-way, 50 feet from property lines, and then we're actually over 300 feet from any nearby residences, which is about double of what would be required of state law. Fencing, I think this is pretty general for the industry, but we're going to propose a egg-style fencing of 8 feet. So that's the wooden posts and then mesh wire versus a chain link. And then we have a 16-foot gravel road. The project size, as was mentioned by staff, is about 8 megawatts. That is a combination of a 5 megawatt and a 3 megawatt project. And that's just due to the constraints of the community solar program in Illinois. It can only be 5 megawatts total. If we go to the next slide, it's just a zoom in of the site plan on about our 40-ish acres project area. There are a little bit of floodplain, a little bit of wetlands, drain tiles and such on this site, but we are able to mitigate all of those impacts, per our agriculture mitigation agreement with the Department of Agriculture, per Will County ordinances and state law. On the next slide, we just kind of take a zoom out to see what the surrounding landscapes looks like. A lot of ag for now. Of course, we have Shorewood just about a half a mile to the east there. We've got some commercial uses to the west of us, and about kitty corner to the southwest is I think a mulch facility as far as I can tell. So some more industrial agriculture uses, and then residential neighbors to the north. We'll get into more of that later. Next slide, something we'd like to highlight from Pivot Energy being that long-term asset owner is our community benefits and engagement efforts. So this permit application was submitted quite a while ago. So our community outreach started in the fall of 2024, which feels like a very long time ago. But we'd like to get that started and complete it prior to a application submission so that we can reflect some of those sentiments into that application. So we had a neighbor meeting at the local Knights of Columbus Hall. We invited, I think, about 12 neighbors to this meeting. We usually invite the closest neighbors and most important stakeholders to these meetings to really get, quality face-to-face time, and so that they can meet Pivot and get some handouts and get some information on the project and who Pivot is. Along with all adjacent landowners, we did invite, I believe, attendees from Village of Shorewood. We invited nearby other municipalities like Manuka and Plainfield. We invited some county board members and reps and things like that. Troy Township, Troy Fire, et cetera. So we had Shorewood attend and a couple of the neighbors. And I think at least for the residential neighbors' sake, I think once they got some information, there wasn't strong opposition. None of those neighbors have showed up or written letters thus far. And everyone who would have gotten an invite, at the very minimum, has my contact information. And I'm more than happy to continue, fielding questions or concerns from any stakeholder. Our Pivot Community Investment Program is something we have built out in the last couple of years and are very proud of. So for every 1 megawatt on a project, we donate $5,000 to a local 501c3. The pillars that we try to focus on are in ag preservation, energy affordability and autonomy, and then economic development and workforce programs. So with $5,000 per megawatt, that equals a community donation of $40,000 for this project. That is in addition to the other concessions that have been offered in relation to this application. And we've already kind of started fielding who may be good candidates and who, those neighbors that showed up to community meetings are, what groups are they passionate about? What do they want to see those funds go towards? So we've already made a small donation to the Will County Farm Bureau for their scholarship funds. And we have executed a letter of intent to commit a decent chunk of that $40,000 to the Joliet Junior College agricultural program. So that's something we are very much trying to spread the wealth a little bit on these projects to the communities that they operate in. Just the next slide. I know we've probably all seen similar numbers, just to go over some property tax revenue increases that solar projects are subject to in the state of Illinois. These are things I know we'll probably hear a lot about property tax revenue as it relates to solar versus farming versus residential. This is something that when we look at this year one, increase from about $8,000 to $41,000, this is something that the county and these taxing bodies like the Forest Preserve, Troy Township, the local schools and colleges, and the local public library, they could be seen in 2 years' time. Solar is, one of the faster deployed forms of energy, and we are kind of teed up to move somewhat quickly with our interconnection agreement, et cetera, once we have completed this round of diligence. So over the 20-year total, which is more reflective of that, 25-year lifespan now, you would see an increase from about 172,000 to about 500,000 in property tax revenue. That would go towards these local bodies that you see on the right side. Next slide, just to kind of give some examples on what our projects look like, obviously in the growing season. But we do habitat enhancement on every single one of our sites. And then on over 95% of our ground mount sites, we actually use sheep grazing for vegetation management. So I did want to add on with Mr. Brooks having the question on mowings. That was also due to, we hope the long-term plan to be sheep grazing versus mowing. That actually has come to be cost effective for our projects. And it's great for local shepherds that can increase their flocks and things like that. So it's another program that we're really proud of at Pivot. But of course, we still do spot mow and those things if needed, if any sort of weeds or invasives would get out of control. Alrighty, and then the next few slides are just some renderings that we had put together by a third party. This is just definitely to give an idea of what this could look like. I'm sure everyone in this room has driven past a solar farm before, so nothing too unfamiliar, but this is a site from the West Side Road, so that's County Line Road. Next slide, we can see it from about the same position, but a little bit different angle. So we can just kind of skip through these slowly so folks can see, and then one from the highway as well. So overall, we just want to emphasize that with the facts and information presented today, that we do believe community solar, of course, post-construction and once built to be a passive temporary neighbor with low profile, quiet, trusted equipment and very minimal site visits after construction. We're usually only on site maybe 4 or 5 times a year. It's either a utility truck or one of our O&M folks just to check and make sure things are going. There's a lot of safeguards and digital monitoring that happens. So not a lot really happens within the fence of that solar project without us being immediately made aware of it. So we do believe that it is, as it has been in other parts of Illinois, a harmonious neighbor for multiple land uses. I know that can be subjective, and I'm always happy to, field those conversations and talk to folks about that. But yeah, I think just the next slide is that zoomed out version again. And we definitely want to highlight that we've heard the concerns on, the future land use plans of this project. To date, our landowner has not received any offers on annexation or development that we are aware of, and we've been in frequent contact with them over the last about year for this application. So we believe that our concessions offered kind of offer a compromise so that it can be an interim land use, but minus about 15 years in order to pave the way for that future residential land use, so that the county and other local stakeholders can get some pretty immediate value add, in 1 or 2 years' time over the next 25 years, but then not impede future development. So that is our intention, that is our hope, and we are more than happy to answer questions on any of that. But thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you for being here. I'll start us off. I have a question on what you were just talking about. So I've heard dozens of these cases while sitting in this chair, and I think this is the first time, at least that I remember, where somebody's looking to actually shorten the length of the lease for the project. I'm a business owner, and I'm always looking at my leases and wondering what my renewal option is at the end of that, because you assume, business is going to be going well, I'm going to keep it going. But here you guys are actually shortening the length of it to 25 years. And if there are benefits to putting all this extra energy into the grid, by stopping the project early, are we hurting it by taking it away? And if everybody does that, does it cause?
I think compromise comes with some sacrifices, right? So of course, the revenue or the opportunity is only the benefits are only gonna build, the site's already there, of course, if it could be there for another 15 years, that would obviously benefit Pivot and the grid and that it feeds and everything like that. But we've done this before. It's not the first time that we've shortened a lifespan in order to kind of compromise with either future land use or whatever it might be. But we very carefully model our sites to make sure that the project can stomach a shorter lifespan. And, you know, business is business, so you have to ensure that, right, it's still going to make sense and pencil and be feasible. But that is a offering that we ran to ground, took seriously, and are more than happy to fulfill if that can be a compromise to, of course, the opposing parties that we've all heard at this point. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Brooks?
In the beginning, thank you, Mr. Chair. In the beginning, you mentioned about the fence and my question about the fencing. You said you do not use a chain link fence, but you use a material egg crate or something to that nature?
So our fencing, you've probably driven by it in like rural agricultural areas. It's just a mesh wire. So it's like
Okay.
you can actually, yeah, that picture is a really good example there.
Okay.
So it's wooden posts and then mesh
I
wire. It's
see.
basically like wired squares. And this is just more wildlife friendly. It's generally seen as more appealing. I know that's subjective, so I won't, you know, generalize that. But yes, then only our gate, I believe, is chain link. But the
So
rest-
is that, for the residents of Troy Township, live on Boss Road, is that more eye appealing, I guess? What advantage is it for the residents out there, this fence as opposed to chain link?
Yeah, like I said, it's subjective, but we have found it to be, and the industry has found it to be just as secure. It meets electrical code, state law, all of the things. And it is seen to better blend into the, you know, surrounding rural agricultural characteristics.
Gotcha.
But I will not, you know, I
The
will,
beauty is in the eye of the
right,
beholder.
it's subjective.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you bet.
I had a lot of the same questions about fencing, and as Member Ogala and some of the farm community have educated me, this is what they prefer
Okay.
in agricultural spaces.
Okay.
Vice Chair Newquist? Oh,
No,
I'm
that
sorry,
was-
Member
that
Bullock?
was-
Hi, what is Pivot's standard offering per acre?
To our lease, in our leases?
Yes.
I don't know if I can share that information. I can share that it is seen generally as like 6 to 10 times what a landowner may or a farmer may get from farming the land, but it has changed a lot in the last few years. But yeah, I'm not sure I can share that information publicly, but it is definitely like these leases are signed for a reason. It's a pretty comfortable, you know, passive income, I can say.
Yearly?
It is yearly by acre. Yeah, I'm happy to answer that for sure.
And even if I'm not asking on this one in specific, you don't have like a standard starting offer?
So I don't sign leases, so honestly, I don't even know what that information is, but I see enough of them. There is a range. I have seen as low as like $800 per acre per year, and I've seen it as high as more than 5 times that, I'll say. And I'll let you do the math in your head.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay,
It all
members?
depends on, if I could just expand, Chairman, it all depends on siting. Like there's a lot of layers and factors that go into it. So yeah, and then some landowners, of course, are business people themselves and they're really good negotiators. So it can all depend. And then if we were to face hurdles in interconnection or other costs, we sometimes can negotiate ourselves to say like, hey, we actually can't meet this, you know, really competitive rate anymore. We might need to bring that down. So it's really subjective.
Okay, now I do.
Member Ogala first, and then we'll come back to you.
Thank you. So good question, Dawn. It's something like everybody is interested in. It started much lower than that years ago, and it's just done nothing but increase since then. And as far as locally, the farmers in the area who would be leasing this property today might be paying 200, 250, maybe 300 an acre versus what a solar company offers. So it's advantageous to the landowner, especially if you're an absentee landowner, or even if you aren't, if you have the property, it's an advantage that they have because they can receive that for property that they're not farming and they just have a guaranteed income every year. And all leases are typically calculated for an annual lease. So I have some questions. How many panels will this be?
That is provided on our site plan that was submitted. I can get that information in just,
We can't download anything. I mean. it's
oh,
only the
I
page.
got it. I can, happy to pull it up. Did you have another question that I can maybe try to ask while I pull that up?
Sure. As far as sheep, no, so everybody who's coming to us, they have sheep.
Mhm.
I don't know that we have that many sheep here, nor, I mean, I don't know that we have a lot of sheep herders that are just going to get sheep for the sense of sheep. You have to, maintain sheep, you have to shear them and things like that. So where will your sheep be coming from?
Yeah, so it's a program that we're continuously building out. I agree. I think that for the demand, we definitely don't at this moment like have the amount of sheep that probably the applications that you're seeing that are promising grazing. I think it was something like 70% of our lamb in the US is imported from elsewhere. But that is a program that we are continuously building out. We have multiple shepherds all across Illinois. We try to find as local as possible. We're always happy to take recommendation. We've even had some tenant farmers from our sites in other counties, not this one, in other counties actually take on the shepherding part and do the grazing of our sites. And we actually had one of our farming couples, the woman was able to quit her job, her day job. They've like tripled their herd, and that's what they do full time now. So it's kind of a growing industry that kind of is running parallel with solar. But yeah, it's definitely one that requires, building relationships, finding those folks, and building out their own herds and things.
Okay, so typically when you have sheep and you've located a sheep herder, how do they get paid for keeping their sheep there?
Yeah, so instead of them paying to have their sheep graze elsewhere, be, having to take in the cost of feed and inputs and like that and things, they are actually paid from us to manage the vegetation. So it's on a per acre. I believe it to also be pretty competitive. Our sheep partners have been very happy. We actually just released like a 5-minute little video with one of our sheep partners. So it's a really cool program. But yeah, we're always looking to expand and improve it for sure.
Okay, and following Dawn here, is it standard that you pay the sheep herders all the same amount, or does that also vary?
I think that could also vary by region, of course. I mean, the distance that they're going, the size of the site. But if it's per acre, I think there is a much tighter range for sure from what I have personally seen.
Okay, and as far as on the property, do you guys provide stuff for the sheep, or does the family that owns the sheep, who provides water and such?
Yeah, the shepherd is responsible for like the animal welfare, of course, like beyond us providing a safe and tidy site. But they are responsible for the welfare, so water and things like that. The sheep actually use the panels as shade. And we work with the shepherds to ensure that our seed mixes actually have the appropriate dietary needs of sheep while also not having, invasive species and things like that. So it's very intricate. That's not the team I live in, but that is my experience thus far. Since we're in-house, we have that, exposure to the teams that are doing this work.
Okay. So you say that you work with the shepherds to develop the seed mix. So I've seen solar facilities that have sheep on it. There's nothing there for them to eat. So who determines when they can go there?
Yeah, I think it's like a dance a little bit, right? Actually, for the first year of a project while the vegetation's still establishing, there may not be enough vegetation, enough food out there for the sheep to feed them. So it might be a much shorter time that they're out there, or we might actually forgo grazing altogether for the first year or so. But again, I think the shepherd, knowing their flock or their herd, can, in collaboration with us, of course, decide what is appropriate, and then of course supplement their diet as needed.
Okay.
Mhm.
My next question is the construction time for your project, from the time that you start to the time that you are up and operational. What might that be? And I know it varies by weather.
So the actual noisy, loud, noisy as in, you got some pile driving, you've got trucks coming to site, that generally lasts about 3 to 6 months. I would say probably closer to 5 or 6 for a site like this. And then after that, it's about 5 to 6 months of testing with the utility to make sure everything is working correctly. I'm no electrical engineer, so I don't know all the terms, but just to make sure we're getting plugged in correctly. standards are being met. There's several tests done on site, and those can take months just for availability and, tweaks and things like that. So it's generally like from construction start to completion and operation, like I'd say 12 to 14 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
And as far as your construction, so I know people who live there. This is why we typically try to say no to solar who are very close to residential, because the amount of noise and
Mhm.
disruption that happens during that time. Because what time in the morning would you guys begin construction, and what time at the end of the day would you end it?
It would, of course, be in compliance with what the county code is. I haven't dove in since we're still in like the land use phase. I have not dove into like what that part of your ordinance would say, but it would comply with local code, usually, 7 to 7 or something like that, or like 8 to 7, I think is what I've seen. Definitely nothing beyond like sunrise, sunset, I would say. And happy to take that as a condition if that is a concern.
So
of the
what
board.
is the time for you guys? What is our time for them to do it? Because I mean, I've had a lot of complaints where the people say it's all day long. It's all day long. They're just waking up, the kids are getting up for school, and it goes until dinner. So that is a lot of disruption. Unlike other construction projects, there's a different level of noise to this than other construction projects, because most construction projects that have a lot of noise are in an industrial area. They're not in an agricultural area. So this is an unusual type of construction noise that we would never have in an ag area.
To answer the question regarding what time construction can start in the county, it's my understanding it's 7 a.m.
7 a.m. to,
That I don't know. 7 p.m. I've heard from the gallery 7 p.m.
that's what I thought. So my question would be, is it okay for us to put a condition on that if any solar company is going to be doing construction, could we limit what time they can do construction versus others? Because other companies are in, or if it's putting in a rural subdivision, you're doing it there and that's expected. No one is expecting the construction noises in an ag community to be such as this. So would we be able to do that? You can pick one of up, carry it away. They move, they're portable. Yeah, pick it up, take it over to us, turn it on.
Fancy here.
There you go. You just have to make sure you turn it on. You don't want to turn it on?
Good.
Yep.
Special uses can be conditioned. It's got to be reasonably related to the purpose of the special use. That's the test. That's the case law.
So your answer is yes, maybe?
I think if you had a willing applicant to work with you and things, it could work, especially like limiting the pile driving and things that are a bit more noisy to maybe like an 8 to 5 or a 9 to 5 or something like that, when maybe more folks are out of their homes. But yeah, I know we also do have 52 there, and there are some other land uses that may also contribute noise. So maybe it's, being directly adjacent to a busier road may make it a little
Not
less
necessarily,
obvious.
because that's a standard noise that everyone's used to.
It's kind of
Becomes
a
a
hum.
background you're not hearing.
Yeah.
Versus boom, boom, boom.
Yeah,
You're
no,
not-
the pile driving, absolutely. Like, I think any applicant should be open to a more narrowed down time frame of when that could occur, because I think we can all agree that that's, although temporary, is annoying.
Right, every day.
Yeah.
Every day.
I agree.
Because you could do Monday through Friday, probably could work on Saturday.
That I don't know, but I don't even know if we would hire crews to work on the weekend, but
Yeah, but
yeah.
if the weather happens to be so
yes.
lousy for a while, you obviously would extend it to the weekends because you
Mhm.
want to get your project done. So how do any of you guys feel about that? Because that's been a concern that people have had, because it's from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So they wake up with it and they leave and they come back and it's still going, and it's going during dinner, and it doesn't stop during the whole time of the
I'd
day.
be willing to limit pile driving hours.
Okay, that sounds reasonable to me.
It is annoying.
It would be annoying to me, especially since I live in the country and I don't expect pile driving to be happening anywhere near me. Okay, ask that question. It's the
I have
least.
your panel's question. if
Okay,
you want
great.
That. So for the One of the projects that is 5 megawatts, we've got about 12,000 panels on that site. And then the project that is 3 megawatts, we've got about 7,000 panels. So about 19,000 panels.
Okay.
Rounded up to 20, just to.
So even,
No,
so
it's
even,
not.
even though that community solar is limited to 5 megawatt, you guys have 8 megawatt because you're doing it on 2 different parcels, or is that what it is?
Yeah, we call that co-located, and there is constraints on co-location as well. So there's only so many megawatts that you can also have within a certain distance. I am not super familiar on all of those rules, but I do know that these two comply with it. But yeah, any one project can only be 5 megawatts AC, but then you can locate a couple in one, sort of area.
Okay. And have you guys met with the local government, townships and the road commissioner and the fire department and soil and water districts?
So you might remember, especially the county office, I was working with Ashland when we first started and through most of this, but the county added the solar form that has a lot of those agencies. So we have made outreach. We actually invited a lot of them, as I noted, to our community meeting. So we have made outreach and have exchanged emails with Plainfield, Manuka, Troy Township, Troy Fire, Troy Roads, of course, Shorewood. And those are the ones I can think of off the top of my head. And the comments were very minimal in the beginning. There wasn't attendance at our community meeting. I offered separate meetings, virtual or over the phone to multiple of those stakeholders, and they were waived as they didn't have any comments. But of course, in the last about a year or so, I think as the opposition has ramped up, there's been more people join. So I have made outreach to pretty much every local stakeholder. I can't hit them all, there's hundreds, but a lot of them have my contact information, and I'm happy to continue conversation as long as they want to have an open conversation and not just, to me, a compromise is this project not happening isn't a compromise, unfortunately. Like I do have, a duty to, and I have a belief as well in renewable energy that I want to see this move forward, but we have plenty of mitigations and creativity, especially as an asset owner, that if two parties come to the table wanting to compromise and be creative, there's a lot that can happen. But if I can't work with folks that don't want to work with me, unfortunately.
We feel the same way about the solar legislation in Springfield. Okay, so my final question is simply going to be, when you have had the conversation with Soil and Water, have you guys met and walked the property yet?
Have not walked the property. Soil and Water, yes, we did meet with Soil and Water. That should have been on our solar form. Let me look at that. They conducted our NRI reports. I've met with the Forest Preserve, I believe. But no, there was no site walk
No
conducted.
site walk yet. 'Cause
Yeah.
I know that's very important.
But they did bring that up. So I think a lot of times, at least for me, I try to focus on like the community engagement and the land use through this phase. And then once it's a more real project, I'm like, okay, what do these folks need? Like let's meet on site, let's have a site visit with multiple stakeholders and things like that. So yeah, I remember that being discussed, and apologies for not following up with them since, but it was, fully in my intention once we got through a little bit of this
Okay.
opposition to do so.
And I have one more. I'm sorry, I forgot.
That's okay.
Did you invite the county board representatives to your public meeting?
I invited our district reps and I believe the county board chair. So I believe we're in District 1 here. Am I correct in that? So I think there's 3. I believe, Mr. Pretzel, are you one of them actually?
No, it's Dean Schlappman.
And then
Van Dyne.
Van Dyne, yes, sorry. It's been a little bit. So yeah, I invited the district reps and then the board chairman via email. And I did follow up with the district reps with some phone calls. I do believe Van Dyne and I did connect via phone a couple times, but there wasn't anything pressing that we met in person or they showed up to the community meeting.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You bet.
Okay, Member Newquist.
Thank you. I do have a question, but before that, I have to comment on the sheep. I live in Crete Township and parts of that are very rural. and I've seen a lot more sheep lately.
Yeah.
And it really struck me. And then, but it kind of makes sense because of all the solar farms in the area that are looking for sheep grazing. So anyway, my question is, and my apologies, I wasn't able to open my packet this morning, so I haven't been able to review this again. But, and it's been so long since we started looking at this. Has there been any conversation about the roads needed to access the project? Because I know a lot of roads are in just terrible shape right now after the winter, and typically a project of the size where there's the construction truck traffic will tear up the roads even more. So I was just wondering if there'd been any conversation about that.
Yeah, we reached out to the road commissioners. I forget their names off the top of my head, but I believe, are we in
It was
Seward?
Troy Township
Troy
roads,
and
or
Seward, maybe. I
Oh.
reached out to both just to be safe.
yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure if this crosses Troy.
I think there was I think there was a little bit of confusion who would have jurisdiction over county line. But
Oh,
essentially,
it does cross. So it goes into Kankakee County too?
yeah, we're right on that.
Okay.
Yeah, hence County Line Road.
Yeah.
We're right on that county line. So I did meet with Jennifer with Troy Township, and that is the contact for the Highway Commissioner Ward. And then just to be safe, I did reach out to Seward, Scott Kreider, in late 2024. And at least what Scott had told me was how this works is when you get your permit, then you come back to us, we can talk road use agreements and what the roads will need and things like that. And Jennifer with Troy also mentioned, once you get through your conditional use permit and your project is approved at the county board level, please reach back out to us and we will pursue road use agreements. Road use agreements have become definitely a norm in the solar industry. So generally what that looks like is weight limits, route limits for what roads we can use. And then, you know, if we were to cause any damage, we are liable for that. And there's a time frame that we would have to, you know, fix and reimburse for things. And they're all a little bit discretionary. So generally
Right.
the road commissioner with the assistance of an attorney obviously is reviewing that, and our teams are just going back and forth. We've done that in Montgomery County, Clinton County, Adams County, bunch of counties now are doing that. So yeah, we're no stranger to those.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Question from Member Bullock.
What was the reason for the postponement? Because this has been quite a while. So
Yes, our outside counsel can maybe speak to that a little bit, but as many probably know, I know Shorewood is very aware, is that there is an ongoing case in the county kind of on this exact topic, right? So I think both parties were maybe looking for a little bit more concrete, you know, what's the lay of the land legally here? And so I think there was a mutually agreed upon, you know, they kept delaying. So it's like, all right, maybe just one more month. I think we've been told since, Shorewood can speak to it too, but maybe since August or September, it's like just one more month, just one more month. So for a while, it was like, all right, we can wait that out, maybe see what this looks like. That could change our, you know, plans here, right? We all exist in, you know, in the black and white. What are the ordinances? What are the codes? What are the laws? But we got to a point that we felt as though we could make a decent offer of mitigation from what we had heard of concerns. And we're at a point where we're kind of ready to just move forward, and we analyzed our options, and that's what we were able to make for an offer. And we thought that was a strong one. So we figured, I don't think we need to wait this out any longer. I think we just need to say like where we're willing to meet and then go from there. Hope that helps.
Thank you. Good question. Okay, don't go far because we may invite you back, but are there any members from the public here that want to speak on this case? Or
Do you want to?
see Shorewood is here?
Yeah.
I invite you down to the microphone.
Yep, for sure. Thanks.
Thank you for being here. Please introduce yourself.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Clarence DeBold, Mayor for the Village of Shorewood. First and foremost, thank you to the Land Use Committee for taking your time and doing your due diligence and participating in this committee. A couple of things regarding this Baltz Road project, Pivot Energy's project, case number 25-028. Our underlying position remains citing concerns. The location of this is still industrial in nature. Route 52 and County Line Road has already been deemed a dangerous intersection. Again, here, and to stay on track regarding siting, no different than when the county built the new courthouse. You didn't slap the courthouse up in the middle of an industrial district or middle of a commercial district. No different than the village of Shorewood. We did comprehensive planning, as the petitioner acknowledges, are within a half mile of the village of Shorewood. The village of Shorewood has to plan for our future. The village of Shorewood is a willing participant within the Grand Prairie Water Commission itself. Shorewood and 5 other communities. We are within that 1.5 miles of extraterritorial zoning jurisdiction. Again, as petitioner noted, we're within a half mile. We're currently in the process of extending sewer and water services under the tracks at Route 52 to continue to expand growth within our community. Responsible growth, tax base that helps the village, the schools, the county. Sales tax dollars that go into our motor fuel tax, that go back to the retail corridor. Property tax. It's a bigger circle. That's what allows us to involve more public works, more police officers, keep the community safe. It's a big circle of evolution for us and how we continue with development. One of the biggest concerns, though, is the village of Shorewood is part of the Grand Prairie Water Commission project. Matter of fact, this county board has backed the Grand Prairie Water Commission, has put its own money into the Water Commission, acknowledging the water shortage that's going to affect not just Shorewood, the city of Joliet, Trust Hill, Village of Minooka, Village of Shanahan, and the Village of Romeoville. That project alone impacts over 250,000 residents the minute we turn that water on. So again, each of those communities has to plan accordingly as to what that impact's going to be to its residents. So if the county continues to allow solar in what should be residential zoning, that has a financial impact back on my residents. I then have to meet a daily allocation. And if we keep putting solar in what should be residential zone developments, that's simply going to continue to raise the water bills and water rates on our residents. We are continually trying to do everything we can, just as the county does for its residents, to keep the cost down for our ratepayers. Nobody wants to see huge impacts in water rates, sewer fees. We all know the cost of everything has constantly gone up. The last thing I want to do is continually increase water rates. These projects simply just have a negative impact to the village. They truly have a negative impact. The governing bodies have, and I will cite you here in a moment, all the governing bodies in the area, and I know when this petition started, one of the representatives from the county rattled off some of the organizations that have already spoke against that. I will come to that in a minute. We know solar is constantly evolving. We're all going to acknowledge that. It's a fair statement. But within solar panels, as the petitioner acknowledged, on this potential land, upwards of 19,000 solar panels to be slapped up here. We've got lead, we've got PFAS. How are we keeping containment in place for that? There's groundwater aspects out there. We know the technology is going to continue to evolve. We know that they're going to put a bond up for decommissioning and some stuff of that nature, and that's all great. But we know that contamination exists from hail, vandalism. We saw the fence that they want to put up. Rural. What stops kids? We know what young teenagers like to do, like to have fun. What stops them from doing something like that? Immediately across the street, and I'm glad this map is up, immediately on the other side of Balch Road is a wedding venue. The Rosalillo family bought that land. They want to put a wedding venue in there. They're working with the county on some of that. They're also one of the folks that expressed opposition to this because it has a detrimental impact to their venue. Route 52 and County Line Road. This is, to me, the core of this entire argument. Route 52 and County Line Road has been deemed a dangerous intersection by the state of Illinois. Matter of fact, its contract number from IDOT, which has already been put out, 62U64, to put a roundabout there. They need land acquisition. They need room. Now we want to put a solar field. We want to put goats grazing right next to a high-speed road. It's already deemed dangerous. What more distraction could we add to drivers? It's the last thing we need to do. There was a concern about food. How are these animals going to be fed? Why would we open the door for neglect? Not to mention the village of Shorewood doesn't allow farm animals. And to put something like this in there, it literally just further complicates our own policies and ordinances in that aspect. Listen, the village of Shorewood supports green energy. We just annexed a solar group. Matter of fact, they were at our planning and zoning last night. We're annexing it in on Tuesday. It comes to our village board for final approval. We've got nothing against green energy, but it needs to be placed in the appropriate location. Siting, going back to siting. Green energy only accounts for about 2% of our solar grid. Data centers, we know the demand for energy. Everybody uses their cell phones. Let's just be honest. We can support solar fields, but they've got to be in the appropriately zoned locations. The petitioner acknowledged stuff in Marion County and different very rural counties. Will County is not a giant rural community, folks. And you guys all know that. Will County is on the cusp. We run a balance of urban and rural here. We know that. We know the challenges that this county board deals with on a regular basis, and they're not easy decisions. And I 100% respect that. But we have to recognize siting. Again, the health and welfare to our community. This location is simply an inappropriate location. Route 52 and County Line Road. You're talking about putting 19,000 solar panels on a piece of land that's not hidden. It's not out of sight. Route 52 is going to be the major thoroughfare. Ridge Road in Kendall County is the next Route 59 and a north-south route. We know that. Kendall County is expanding the Ridge Road corridor right now. IDOT's expanding and redoing this Route 52 County Line as a roundabout because we know how dangerous it is. We know how much traffic is on there. Community solar is a great idea. It really is. But the problem is the county board knows, we've all seen it. We don't know, and you can't guarantee when this petitioner, if this project is approved, who gets those solar credits. We don't know. There's no guarantee that any of my residents within the village of Shore are going to get a discount on their bill. We can't guarantee that. They can't guarantee that. One of the other biggest things I want to note is the numerous letters of opposition. Real quick, you have letters of opposition from the village of Shorewood, the city of Joliet, Troy Township, Troy Fire, Manuka Community High School, Troy Grade School, Joliet Township High School, the Grand Prairie Water Commission, State Representative Harry Benton, and the Rosaleo family that owns the wedding venue. There is a reason numerous municipal bodies and governing bodies are opposing this. This was all discussed a little while back. This has an impact. And again, we're more than happy to acknowledge that. The petitioner mentioned a letter trying to compromise. Be advised, they just sent that letter to our staff within 48 hours. So don't think that anybody's coming in here playing hardball. We were just notified on February 4th. I haven't even had a chance to talk to my board about it, let alone having a breakdown of discussion with my staff. So to have a petitioner come here portraying that they're all of a sudden the big factor and conduit of compromise, let's not be fooled. The email is dated February 4th, and I believe Chairman Pretzel may have received it, or within the staff, they have it. It was dated February 4th, the same day we received it. The petitioner also discussed property tax valuations and the tax benefits that go to the different governing bodies. Folks, if this is a developed property in any other manner, residential, commercial, whatnot, the tax benefits to all the other municipalities are 28 times higher. Numbers sound great. Somebody's going to get $4,000 or somebody else is going to get $40,000. With improved developments, improved dwellings, that 28 times tax benefit goes to everybody. It goes to the schools, goes to your library district, it goes to the county. Goes to everybody. Road district out there, correct. The Route 52 obviously is an IDOT jurisdiction. The Village of Shorwood cooperates with IDOT on a regular basis. County Line Road is township. That is obviously, it is Troy Township. Baltz Road is also Troy Township. And if you just looking at that map, how do you think it feels to go east on Baltz Road, looking 120 degrees back onto 52 to make a turn out of there? And then we're going to add a further obstruction? That's at Bolton 52. That's not even the county line 52 portion. As the village expands, we want to close Baltz Road. Make it a true, safe intersection. Again, I respectfully requested denial of this permit. It does have a negative impact to our residents. It has a negative impact to not just the Village of Shorewood, but I believe it has a negative impact to the county. The Village of Shorewood has been successful, quite frankly. We did have a permit denied a little while back, and the landowner is under contract or is in a bidding war currently on another piece of property for 2 developers on it. Progress is there. The Village of Shorewood wants to continue to be a resource. We want to be a solution. We want to be a contributor to the county and resolve the housing crisis, affordability, provide lake water, and continue to provide nothing but premier services for our community. And again, with that, I thank you for your time, and I do respectfully ask for a denial of this permit.
Thank you for your comments. We do
Yes,
have
ma'am.
questions, I believe. Member Newquist, we'll start with you.
Hello, thank you for coming today. And I think I asked you this question like back in August or September.
Sure.
But are there any current development plans, and do you guys plan to eventually annex that land?
100%. The piece immediately across the street to the, would be to the east. That is where the village is working on running sewer and water, which opens all that land up. The parcel across where your cursor is at is owned by the Baltz family, and they are actually working on a master plan because they own the entire square mile for development. So we've had meetings with the Baltz family, Mr. Briscoe, that group that's involved with that. What's not also shown on that map immediately to the east will be the new YMCA that the village partnered with, bringing the greater Joliet YMCA within the Village of Shorewood right there at Windstone and Route 52. There's a traffic light going in. Van Mack was out there just installing the box for the traffic controller. So that will be a signalized intersection as well as we continue to move west. There's an additional 600 to 700 cars a day alone going to that facility. So in regards to development, yes, we are immediately working with the Baltz family, which is the property to the west and on the south of that intersection.
And you do plan on annexing basically the whole parcel at some point?
Ma'am, I have no boundary agreement. I have a running joke with the Mayor Brown and Morris that we are going to be neighbors.
Okay, thank you.
That's funny. Thank you again. Any other questions for the mayor of Shorewood here?
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your time. Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Jim Murphy. I represent the Village of Shorewood in some of the litigation that's going on. I also represent the Village of Shanahan and have been involved with some of the solar cases in Winnebago County and Grundy County also. So I'm pretty familiar with the way the statutory legal battle is going on. I also happen to be a resident of Shorewood, and I pass this area on a weekly basis. I think that's important to know because one of the things, and I was looking at Will County's basically planning guidelines and sort of the precepts that are involved in that. And one of the things that struck me is it's a recognition that the county should really pay attention to what villages want because they are the ones that are closest. They know the areas. I happened to look at the membership of this board before coming here today, and I suspect based on where you live, very few of you pass this on a regular basis if you passed it at all. So that's one of the reasons to pay attention to local comprehensive plans. The village of Shorewood has adopted a comprehensive plan for this area, and it's shown to be residential. One of the things that comes out with that in terms of building out as residential is how you split costs, how you have condensed development so that you actually have efficient economical provisions of water and sewer. One of the things that has popped up with regard to water and sewer is the issue of access to that. And Will County's basically planning says, develop areas where water and sewer are available. Don't develop it someplace else. One of the things that has been a problem with developing this particular area is getting water and sewer to it because of the railroad tracks. Shorewood in the past years has been developing that and is set and on schedule to have water and sewer on the other side, west of the railroad tracks by next year. So that is ready to basically explode then. The other thing when we're talking about what has been proposed is we're going to go from 40 to 25 years. That sounds like a concession. Think about what's happened in Will County in the last 25 years. The population has gone up over 30%. You know, what you're saying is sort of potentially stop growth in this area for 25 years. What would have happened in various areas throughout the county if you'd stopped growth for the past 25 years? We'd just be starting. So 25 years is a much longer time period in terms of development, I think, than what the proponents of the project want you to believe. As I said, just going back to where the legal stance is, there's a question in terms of what authority the counties have. Can you treat these like regular special uses? Which is to consider, is this an appropriate spot for this particular project? Or because of the way it's going to develop, the way that it's planned to develop, is it inappropriate? As Shorewood contends, as I contend. And the way that has come out is there are two cases in Winnebago County where the judge has determined that, yes, county boards do have that discretion. They can make the determination that a particular project is inappropriate because of what goes around of it because of the specific location. There are 4 cases before Judge Braun today, which is sort of what we've been waiting for. We were told in the last communication from Judge Braun that he would have a decision by today. We don't have that. Maybe we'll have it at the end of the day. I don't know. And there are actually 2 cases in Grundy County that I'm involved in. One is on appeal before the 3rd District, where the judge made a ruling contrary to the way that we read the statute with very little analysis. The judge in Winnebago County, for example, in comparison, gave a 12-page single-spaced opinion on why there was authority for the county's retained authority to deny projects. And then we're waiting for Judge Braun. There are 4 cases. So that's where it stands in terms of sort of the legal posture of the ability to actually engage with authority.
Okay.
So again, and the other one of the other things in the plans for Will County is it really shows, as I said, a deference to local decision-making. It also says, if there's a gateway to the community, you really have to pay attention to sort of how that looks. This is one of the gateways. There are 4 ways that you come in to Shorewood. You come in from the east on 52, the north on 59, the south on 59, and the west on 52. This is the west on 52. This is how you know you're going to Shorewood, it's sort of when you take that turn. So if there are any questions?
Thank you. Do we have any questions from the committee for the speaker? All right. Thank you. Thank you for your
Thank you.
comments. Is there anyone else here today to speak on this case? Okay, do we have any other questions from the committee? All right, I do want to say, you want to come back up? Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. You want to
Yeah.
address a couple of those things?
Yeah, just like a couple quick responses. I don't want to get into the subjectivity of everything. I know like there's dozens of people in this room, so we could argue all day of what's appropriate here and things like that. I just did want to confirm that we have consulted with IDOT and we've sent them our CAD plans of the project footprint, and they have confirmed that it does not impede. There actually is still plenty of setback from their proposed roundabout plans and our project. So that was already something we had de-risked at this point and are happy to continue working with IDOT to not impede any future development. And then obviously I just wanted to reiterate again that I know we can argue about, which development and the level of tax revenue, et cetera, but that tax revenue is not realized until that development is there. So we see this offering of a shorter lease life and a project that can be there in a year or two's time, as a value add for the county, Shorewood, townships, et cetera, while they continue that expansion. And then we can work closely in the last 5 or so years of that, or whatever that might look like. We can knowledge share, Alta surveys, whatever that is, to help aid those annexation efforts, those easement efforts, those removing Baltz Road. I'm assuming with our landowner having a driveway off of Baltz Road, you're going to have an issue. Maybe there, like, we're happy to aid in those conversations if we can come to that compromise. So yeah, just wanted to note that. And then also on subscribers, we do have an in-house subscription management team. So we actually do know for certain like where our customers and where our subscribers are coming from. I can promise you that they have to be ComEd customers and they have to be in the state of Illinois. So yes, I can't promise that it's going to be made up of all businesses and residents of Shorewood, but they definitely can be. If they're ComEd customers, anybody can sign up tomorrow, today, and get out, not even this project, but one that's already operational. So just wanted to make that note. And then I think our outside counsel here will just note on a couple of the legal matters that I cannot speak to really quick.
Yep, please, we have a question.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. Can you speak to the panels? We have a lot of people that come up and talk about possible contamination from the panels. And I never really seem to get a straight answer on this from solar developers. So any info you can give me on that would be appreciated.
Of course. Yeah. It is a tricky question, right? Because we have elements of all sorts in our daily lives everywhere. I mean, even in this room, there are several things that some would obviously deem contamination or dangerous at a certain, a dose or whatever it would be. I can say for certain that solar panels, the vast majority of them are made up of glass, steel, and silicon. And then you have, what do they call them? Important elements or whatever they're called, like some copper and things like that, which we send to recycling facilities because it's actually all recyclable or even very valuable materials. There is, of course, a small, less than 1%, I think it's even less than 0.1% of things like lead. There's no cadmium in the vast majority of the panels that are used in the industry and the panels that are used by Pivot Energy. But yes, there is some lead. And in that recycling process, that gets extracted, removed, and then handled properly per local and federal code. The last time, I know this comes up a lot in your meeting, so I actually did meet with our recycling vendor, and he did say that generally all but about 4% of the panels can be recycled, and what's left is really adhesives, and then that lead that goes to its own its own, processing and things. But also, these panels are extremely strong. They have really strong warranties as well. It's not a case where like a hailstorm is going to happen and stuff starts seeping out. That's just not what the industry or anyone has experienced to date, to my knowledge. And we have numerous digital, ways to monitor this site that we would know instantly that a panel has been cracked or, broken, and if we needed to get out there and replace it. So I definitely understand the concern. There are a lot of technically dangerous things in our everyday lives, and we have to follow protocol and put in multiple safeguards in order to make sure that our communities and our environment is safe from that, for sure.
I realize that the panels may not have been around long enough for you to have this information yet, but has the industry done any, I don't know if modeling is the right word, or estimation of the possibility of contamination, or have there been any known instances of soil contamination? And again, I realize they may just be too new for you to really have this info, but just wondering.
Yeah, I don't know of any, but I could look further into that. I could ask my, subject matter experts and things. But these have been around, you're right, for like, 30, 40 years, most of them, maybe at most of them even like 10 to 20. So I think we just don't have those longer term studies yet, but they're on government buildings, they're on schools, they're near these places that I believe that if they were a true, risk, more so than getting in our combustion engine vehicles every day or something, or, our battery engines every day, that would be, I would hope, fought for and much more widely known. I am happy to, discuss that further if that is a severe concern. I have had some projects where we've been required to do soil testing before construction, after construction, and then in intervals down the line, as a way to just kind of keep up with, if folks are concerned about contamination. But I think, yeah, again, in a developed world that we live in, a globalized world, there is a lot of things everywhere, and it's just about taking the proper protocol and making sure you have good vendors, good manufacturers, good processes in place for making sure everything is working as it should.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Jim Griffin. I'm with the law firm of Shane Banks, attorney for the applicant. Myself and my firm have also been involved in many of the litigation matters that are currently pending around the state and in the appellate court. So I won't get into that, but I do want to kind of bring us back to, what does the county do when it's considering a special use request? And we believe that the application satisfies all of the standards in the Will County zoning ordinance. And the staff, your staff, reviewed the application, the surrounding area, and agreed and made the same conclusion that the evidence submitted shows that this project is in compliance with the special use standards. And we don't believe there's been any evidence that's been presented throughout these proceedings to contradict that. The objection raised by Shorewood is based upon its comprehensive plan that proposes residential use for this property. But it is settled law, and this is not an issue that's involved in any of the current litigation. It is settled law in Illinois from the Illinois Supreme Court that a special use permit cannot be denied on the basis that the use is not consistent or compatible with the comprehensive plan, because the Supreme Court has said it's the zoning ordinance that controls, not the comprehensive plan. So that is not a valid basis for a denial of a special use request. But nonetheless, as Brittany pointed out, we have proposed significant compromise based on the comprehensive plan that Shorewood has for residential in limiting the project lifespan to 25 years. We do believe that's a significant compromise and that it meets Shorewood's concerns about its long-term residential development. As Brittany noted in her statements, our landowner has not been approached, has not been sought out for residential development, and it's entirely speculative when or if that might occur. I would assume probably 25 years ago, many people would have predicted this land had already been developed with residential uses, but that hasn't happened because that's based largely on the market. This is a project, though, the solar project, that is ready to go and be built today and is not speculative and is not dependent on what the comprehensive plan is. So we feel confident that it does meet all the requirements of your zoning ordinance. We've tried to work within the rules as we have to as developers, the state rules, your county rules. We feel that we've worked within those rules and made a project that complies with that. And, we've tried to do what we think is our best to compromise with Shorewood. So we respectfully request a recommendation of approval from this committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay. I just want to say, we've worked with lots of solar companies. I can see that you guys are proving to be one of the better ones, right? They're not all as thorough as you, and I can see there's a willingness to compromise and work to see that your project is approved, and I appreciate that very much. I also do want to take into consideration that these municipalities do put a lot of time into these comprehensive plans, and especially when they have it future residential, for us to come and put a solar farm, solar field, 19,000 solar panels in there for the next 25 years, that really does get in the way of that comprehensive plan. And you can say that, it may never happen. They're literally bringing water to the area as we speak. It is where the growth in Will County is going. And for that reason, I cannot support going against the village of Shorewood, who has a comprehensive plan and sees this as residential. I do want to be a good partner with them, as opposed to a company, no offense, who doesn't live in Will County and won't have to deal with the consequences of bringing in 19,000 glass panels and tying up this land for at least a quarter of a century. So I'm gonna be a no on this. It's an easy one for me. But yeah, please.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I generally support solar developments, but the one thing that is causing me a problem on this is the fact that Shorewood has made, and if anyone out there can address this, please feel free. The fact that Shorewood has made the investment to bring water and sewer, I mean, that's a substantial expense. And to me, it shows it goes beyond just having a comprehensive plan on paper and speaks to the more immediacy of development. And that is my sticking point here. I mean, because normally we see all kind of comprehensive plans, and no offense to any of the municipalities, but a lot of those plans are never going to go anywhere. But this has some concrete action has been taken to further that plan, and that is what I'm kind of stuck on right now. Thank you.
Member Ogala?
Thank you. So I just want to say a couple of things. One, that I appreciate that you guys have made some concessions. You've been giving it to the Village of Shorewood. They've indicated that they just received it. Therefore, I don't understand how they can even have had a conversation about it. Number one. Number two, I have no idea how the vote will go. But in saying that, if you are willing to make a compromise on something, then it should be with the intent of being a good neighbor, a good member of the community. And I would think that regardless of how the vote goes, or regardless of any outcome, that you would stick with that, because that makes sense to do that. Otherwise, to me, it's just like, it's a conversation just to say, well, if you do this, then we'll do that. Well, you have to be committed to your words, your value, and your integrity to say, this is what we're going to do because I think it's the right idea. So saying to go to 25 years from 40, it seems like it's a good idea. And as far as timing goes, so y'all know I live in the airport footprint. I was 25 years old when they started the nonsense. I'm currently 65 years old. So 40 years goes faster than you think. And it has held the development out by us significantly. And additionally, this board has been pretty standard in what we support and what we say no to. And we have always taken into consideration, as we would with any special use permit, the surrounding municipalities, any land use plans they have for the future. And is this type of development unlike the rest in the area? And solar is not agricultural. You could put some sheep on it. It still isn't agricultural. Solar is an industrial use, and it really should be in an industrial area, not scattered all over our countryside. And it specifically should not be close to residential. And you guys are also close to residential here, whether it's one home or 45 homes. So regardless of how the vote goes, I don't know how it's going to go today. I certainly hope that you would stick with whatever compromise that you would like to say. And also, with that, since we don't know how the vote is going to go, I would like to make it standard that we look at setting a time frame for when they are installing those pilings, because it's constant boom, boom, boom. And then people have complained who live near these areas because it's been a lot. So I don't know what you think would be fair. I think a 9 to 5 is fair. So I'd like to make a motion to add a condition that the installation of the pilings should occur between the hours of 9 a.m. and 5 p.m.
We need a second on that.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
You want to call the roll?
We're voting on adding fifth condition. Frankie Pretzel,
Yes.
Jerry Newcrest.
Yes.
Brooks.
Yes.
Ron Bullock,
Yes.
Judy Ogala.
Yes.
Destiny Ortiz. Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you. And just a note to staff, I would like to put this on a future agenda so that we don't have to vote on it case by case, but maybe it's just a countywide ordinance that if you're doing pylons, they have to be done between 9 and 5. I think that's fair. I don't think many of our petitioners are even going to object to that. So. Okay, are we ready to vote on the this zoning case as amended? Okay.
With the 5 conditions, Frankie Pretzel,
No.
Jerry Newcrest,
I'm a no.
Herbert Brooks.
No.
Ron Bullock,
No.
Judy Ogala,
No.
Destiny Ortiz.
No.
Okay, motion fails. We will see you at the full board meeting. Thank you. Okay, on to the next case. We have zoning case 25-111. Map amendment from A1 to I1 and a special use permit for a clean construction and demolition debris fill operation. This is vacant Brandon Road in Joliet, Illinois County Board District number 6. Can I get a motion and a second?
Motion Newquist. Second O'Gara.
Motion and a second. And Kelly, you want to shed some light on this one?
Yeah, so this was postponed from the last Land Use and Development Committee in December. They're looking to request a map amendment from A1 to I2 and a special use permit for clean construction or demolition debris on about 11.5 acre property along Brandon Road in Joliet Township. The site lies nearly near predominantly industrial uses with some agricultural and limited residential in the area. Although it's currently zoned A1, the area has transitioned towards industrial development. The proposed use and future use of the site complies with the Land Resource Management Plan of Will County and the City of Joliet's comprehensive plan designates a site for industrial use. Staff finds that the proposed fill operation is compatible with surrounding zoning and consistent with long-term plans. Of the agencies notified, there were no objections received. Staff previously did receive a letter of objection from, that was included as a memo, and also a separate memo that provided a slideshow. At the Planning and Zoning Commission, there was one individual that spoke in opposition. I believe at the Land Use Committee, there was 2 people that spoke in opposition at that meeting. Staff is recommending approval of the rezoning and special use permit with 4 conditions. And the Planning and Zoning Commission voted 4-2, recommending approval of both the map amendment and the special use permit. I believe the attorney and applicant are here to speak today. And the objector also has a presentation they would like to share with the committee as well.
Okay, thank you, Kelly. Do you have any questions for staff before I turn it over?
Yep.
Member Bullock?
That's right, these can
Oh,
be
you
picked
got
up.
one. You could
Mine. Forgot about
Oh, it
that.
took you 2 hours to
Sorry.
figure it out.
Yeah, it did. I saw it happen, but I didn't. Now, what was my question? Oh, because we're having a hard time, well, we can't download anything with our agenda program. Can we get a map when we talk about these? Thank you.
Yeah, I tried.
Was that your only comment? Okay, perfect. Please, you're the petitioner? You're. Okay, I'm gonna ask you to hold off just a second. I do invite the applicant up, Mr. Marquetti or Brandon Road, CCD. Mr. Washburn is here.
Mr. Marquette's here too, but he'll be happy to answer any questions should there be something
Sounds good.
requiring his direct attention. But yeah, Nate Washburn with KGG LLC. I'm the attorney for the applicant. We were here back in, I believe it was the first week of December, perhaps. And we had presented this case. I believe it went to land use or planning and zoning either the week before or a couple weeks prior, and did receive a favorable recommendation. The issue that arose at the last meeting was a question regarding the tree removal, the timing thereof, and what led to those, that occurrence. So in the interim, and Mr. Marchetti and I had an opportunity to speak, and what had happened is my client had purchased the property back in May of 2025. Shortly thereafter, he had reached out to Homer Tree Service about, clearing the newly acquired property. They put it on their calendar to get to it in whatever time fashion they had available on their schedule. It ended up being inadvertent that their timing was in this window that would have gone beyond what the proposed condition would state. However, as I had addressed back in December, the state's report, which the objectors were pointing to and relying upon, suggested that it would be a good idea to try to limit any tree activities to times between, I believe it was April 1st and October 1st, and that they should consider submitting to the state a report regarding some sort of wildlife. However, those were suggested and recommended conditions, not strict requirements. And again, due to the timing, the request for the tree removal was within the timeframe where it would have been appropriate. However, due to Homer's schedule, it just ended up occurring apparently at a time after that. However, the issue raised was that we were somehow violating a condition upon the property. However, no such condition exists today or did then, and efforts were made. My client certainly acknowledges that, it was a bit of a faux pas in terms of the timing, but is willing to, not only as part of the future development of the site, meet all of the county's landscaping requirements. Certainly, we would be willing to go, or I guess now alter the condition, given that the trees have been removed from the site, to, increase or enhance the trees and landscaping to the front of the property as the site's developed, to allow, in recognition of the fact that this condition, had it gone into effect, we would have, of course, abided by. But since it wasn't into effect at the time when the request was made, the timing was just inadvertent. But we are certainly understanding of the situation and willing to both meet and go beyond the landscaping requirements required to address any concerns regarding the landscaping.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm certainly here to answer any other questions, but I believe that was the issue that.
It's all coming back to us. I see a lot of heads nodding here, so thank you for that explanation there. So I do want to remind the committee, we are going to be voting on two different things here. The first one is the map amendment and then the special use permit. But do we have any questions for Mr. Washburn before I invite up the public here?
And one thing I would like to remind this committee, the underlying zoning cannot be conditioned, and the underlying zoning, regardless of the concern with regard to the special use permit, the underlying zoning fits and meets every criteria for being rezoned. So were there any trepidations whatsoever, the zoning would still be appropriate. And then certainly the special use falls within your discretion, but we would also hope that with the agreement to increase the landscaping, that would be sufficient to garner some approval on this one.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Okay. Don't go far. We may invite you back.
Certainly won't.
I
Thank
see
you.
we have another guest here to talk on this case. I invite you down to the microphone. Is there anybody else here that wishes to speak on this case? Yeah. Why don't you go line up against the wall here and you'll be next. Hi, please introduce yourself.
Jackson Hogan, Will County Farm Bureau. And I'm here to ask you today to deny the special use permit request based on too many assumptions in the staff analysis. So in it, there's 4 conditions that need to be met, one of which is a survey conducted after the EcoCat. They said that there is possibility of both rusted past bumblebees and osprey in the area, and that they recommend a professional biologist to survey it. That is part of the staff requirements that were listed, but it does not give a time when that survey needs to be conducted. There's no timeline of sunset. And so I'm saying that it is too vague for something like this. What stops progress already being done or the use that they're wanting already happening, and then they conduct the survey and the habitat has already been destroyed. So I'm wanting the special use denied for that reason. It is too many assumptions can be made about it, and it's not specific enough to this case. With the material coming in, who's to say that it won't destroy the habitat before the survey is conducted? That's already an assumption that we can make just from the one statement. And so with this space, as a Farm Bureau, we absolutely support owners' rights to do as they wish with the property, but we know that there needs to be things that are done, respect the authority and the integrity of the county. And the motto of the Forest Preserve here in Will County is bring people and nature together. If we don't know where nature is, how can we do that? Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any questions before he
I
leaves?
do,
Okay.
actually.
Go ahead, Member Newford.
This is really more for staff, but can we condition the timing of the study? Not sure who
So
should.
I think I hear you loud and clear. You're asking us to be a no on the special use permit until the study's done. I don't think it would be fair for us to be no on it. No, not knowing where the results of the study would even be. I would say more of a postponement of that than a no or a yes.
Right, I mean, can we put a special condition on though that says that the study has to be completed before proceeding? Because even if we approve the special condition, that doesn't mean they can start work. They still have to go through all of the, other whatever steps and permits and et cetera. So I'm asking staff for some guidance here, like what can be done? Because that is a good point.
You can, but generally with conditions, since there is a condition number 2 on this one, that is requiring them to obtain the site development permit, and they would be required that regardless of the condition. We generally zoning will look at the conditions and make sure those requirements are met during permitting process. So they will be, so while they're going through the permits, they're going to be required to obtain that before it's issued and they move forward, if that makes sense.
So they basically won't be able to get a permit to do any work until the study is completed, is
Yes.
what
until
you're
they,
saying.
Till they comply with all the conditions of the special use permit.
And one of the condition, I can't see the
Yeah.
conditions. So one of the conditions is to do this study that the Farm Bureau is suggesting.
Correct. It's under condition number 4.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Does that address your concern?
Yeah, the concern is mostly that eliminating a habitat prior to the construction would be
Right, so
unethical. So
if they can't start the construction till they get the permit, and they won't get the permit till they do the study, hopefully that addresses.
right. So I guess that would lead to the next thing is that the neighboring parcels are zoned agriculture right now, but they share the habitat. So how can you destroy a strip of the habitat without that? If you look at the next slide where it has the zoning. on it,
Is there an actual habitat out there? I mean, that there's a habitat.
the EcoCat says that there is the possibility of one, which is why staff here in Will recommended the survey.
Okay, thank you.
So it is unknown at the time.
But they do have to have the survey before they can do any construction.
But as you can see, everything around it is A1. Switching this one to industrial and allowing the special use on it would not prevent any interaction with the other parcels. If it is filled, as it says, the watershed might change, the flow of water might change. The habitat is being spliced in half, and that will affect anything living in that area.
So are you suggesting the only acceptable decision would be to just say no to the special use permit?
That is what I'm saying, yes. That's what I'm asking.
Even if the test was done, came back?
Test was done, came back, that there was no habitat established, then the Farm Bureau would not object.
But they can't proceed with construction until they do the test.
Correct.
And if it comes back where there is some osprey or bees, they can't.
So, okay, then my question is, would you revoke the special use, or would they just have it indefinitely, or how would that work?
That's a question, I guess, for staff, but they wouldn't be able to do the project even with the special use, is my understanding.
Yeah, if they don't comply or they violate one of the conditions, then the special use permit would be revoked, basically.
So with that, you would already approve the industrial rezoning. What happens to the field that is farmed there already? You can't farm in an industrial. You need to be ag zoned.
I believe even if it's rezoned to I2, they would still be able to farm the land, but then it would be zoned for all the industrial uses that are permitted in the I2 district.
Okay, that's all I have.
Yeah,
I guess.
I
Yep.
understand. Member Bullock, did you?
Yeah, I just want clarification from staff. If there is found to be osprey or the bee population there, does that say no? If that exists, does that keep them from continuing, or is that just, hey, by the way, there's birds and bees here, you want to be careful of them or preserve them if you can, or can I just mow down all those trees regardless?
Yeah, I don't think it stops it. I think generally when they do the report, it generally have suggestions similar to the ones they provided with not clearing trees within a certain time frame. So I believe it'd be similar suggestions compared to that, depending on what they find in the report. Yeah.
I guess my question is, as the developer, can I just go, oh, that's nice, I don't care?
Yeah, they can. They do it all the time, right?
If I can say something?
Yep.
Oh, sorry. The rusted patch bumblebee is a federally protected species.
But we don't know if there's rusted patch.
At the moment, no, we don't,
Okay,
without the survey conducted.
So I'm looking at the map, and I do know this area, but it's I2, and there's a sliver of A1 before the Brandon Road LLC proposed project. Can you tell me how wide is that sliver that's not boxed off in red? I mean, what's the distance between what's already industrial and what they're trying to do here?
It looks like not a whole lot.
Throwing distance. Do you have the answer?
You have to come up to the mic, please.
I mean, an
I
estimate.
do not recall what the exact distance of that is, but the reason there are so many slightly small, weird parcels is I believe the vast majority of those are owned by either a pipeline company or ComEd because they're transmission lines and or pipelines. So while they may be ag zoned, they are in fact an industrial grade use because of what's down there, which is why they are chunked up in the way they are. And the big A1 parcel that you see with an asterisk next to it on the map is actually the old Lincoln Stone Quarry, which is a coal ash borrow pit that Midwest Gen just purchased, which they are decommissioning over the course of the next probably our great grandchildren's lifetimes.
To the
To the
looks like
north.
to the
So
top
if
of our
you, if
screen.
they put the zoning map back up, you'll see that there's our parcel, which is sandwiched in there in the red box. There's a few thin A1 parcels, and then there's a big one with an asterisk. The big one with the asterisk is actually the former quarry, which is the coal ash borrow pit for the Midwest Gen decommissioned power plant. All of the other chunkets are either owned by ComEd, Midwest Gen, or a pipeline. This piece itself was also owned by Lincoln Stone Quarry, which is who we purchased it off of. It was just kind of a leftover vestige that didn't happen to have a pipeline, transmission line, or some other like use on it. So there's no incentive for anybody to rezone those other smaller parcels to industrial, but they cannot be used based on what's below the ground for anything else because it's got a pipeline or transmission line.
Okay.
I just checked and it's about 30 feet.
30
The
feet
northern,
of
yes.
What's already industrial to what they're trying to do. So, okay, thank you. Any other questions before we have a couple more? Okay, thank you for being here. Ladies, you're welcome to come up together one at a time. I'm not sure.
Kelly's going to pull some slides up for us. In the meantime, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak with you today. We are actually an environmental network, the Will County Environmental Network, which is a nonprofit organization that was formed in 1981. We've been working to protect the environment since that time. And we are encouraging the committee to delay the vote for the rezoning or deny it today. You can go to the next slide. There we go. Okay, we just wanted to start out and point out that this is a home that is located just south of the property that's being looked at to rezone. It was built by my great-grandfather, and I grew up in this home, so this is near and dear to my heart. My great-grandfather was a contractor in Joliet, John G. Wilhelmy, and he was a prominent contractor, having done woodworking interior of the Joliet Public Library, the original hospitals in Joliet, both St. Joe's and Silver Cross, and also the courthouse, among other commercial buildings. And he also was a residential builder. In this home, he actually showcased all of the different opportunities for their residential customers to choose for the interior build out of their homes, woodworking, stained glass windows, etc. So it's a beautiful structure. If you could go to the next slide. Then this is just a picture of the driveway that shows the beauty of this property. Go to next slide. And this slide depicts the home that is located just south of that home. And it's an old pre-Civil War era farm homestead, and it is still being farmed today. My mother actually grew up in this home. Next slide. Okay, so our primary reasons for asking to delay or deny the vote. The survey and habitat assessment that was just referred to earlier has not been done in the area, and we feel it needs to be done prior to the vote. There is also geology of the area, including a karst aquifer that sits below this property. It's construction. It consists of fractured bedrock, and the impact of construction debris should be studied prior to the vote. Next slide. Okay, there is supporting plan and reports to what we are asking for. The 2007 Joliet Southside Comprehensive Plan identifies more than half of the proposed site future land use to be floodplain, wetland, and open. The National Wetlands Inventory identifies a freshwater marsh on the south side of the property and extends onto the adjacent property further south. Will South Cook Soil and Water Conservation District report, it describes nearly 1/4 of the soil on the parcel as hydric. Soils have seasonally high water at or near the surface and or have potential for flooding and ponding problems. All hydric soils range from poorly suited to unsuitable for building. Next slide. Okay, so the property to the south, there are concerns for that property. Half of the freshwater marsh is on the property to the south. So how will the environmental benefits of wetlands be affected when half the marsh is covered with 40 to 50 feet of fill? Disruption of soils at this site could impact the property's ability to drain. Next slide. The Illinois Department of Natural Resources staff specified a condition for approval. And this is the one that we've been discussing already with this rezoning of this property. The staff recommended approval with 4 conditions, one being that the owner operator shall submit a survey and habitat assessment performed by a qualified biologist and shall submit the results to the IDNR for a final determination on potential impacts to osprey and other migratory bird species. The IDNR states that no record of the study has been found, and we called yesterday and they reiterated that as well. The study needs to be done prior to the zoning approval. The IDNR recommendations referred to here are in an EcoCat review. EcoCat stands for Ecological Compliance Assessment Tool, and it generates reports for the IDNR that determine if proposed actions may impact the natural resources. That is dated October 8th, 2025, so rather recently. Next slide. This is a picture of the osprey that we've been talking about. The EcoCat does show that they have been identified in the project vicinity. Next slide. Okay, and then we also were referring a few minutes ago to the federally endangered rusty-patched bumblebee. This is the first bumblebee to receive federal protection. It also has been identified in the EcoCat to be in the project area. I think earlier we were saying that we didn't know if it was, but it has been identified that it has been in that area. This parcel is identified as a high potential zone on the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service high potential zone map. We feel that the endangered species impacts need to be studied prior to the vote. Next slide. And there already has been failure to comply with the IDNR recommendations. Under those recommendations, work within the wooded areas shall only occur between April 1st and October 1st to avoid potential impacts. These photos were taken on December 3rd. And this is where the trees, there was tree removal done. And that was done outside of the window that the IDNR recommended, since it was done after October 1st. And that does directly affect the bees. They burrow down under the leaf litter, and they stay there in the winter, and then in the spring they come out and lay their eggs. So that could have very well been disturbed already. Okay, proposed site is on a karst aquifer. In 1994, the ISGS, Illinois State Geological Survey, documented sinkholes about 1/4 mile southwest of the site. 3 30-foot diameter sinkholes leading to the bedrock crevices or fractured bedrock were found. The conclusion is the area south of Joliet contains numerous karst features and is underlain by a karst aquifer. And this is a LiDAR image from Will County that shows that what is beneath the actual ground. That shape over on the right there, that's the quarry that we were referring to earlier, the NRG quarry. I'll speak to that in a minute. Next slide. Okay, why is the karst aquifer important to study? Groundwater in a karst aquifer flows rapidly, and surface-borne contaminants can enter the aquifer quickly. Groundwater can travel to nearby wells within hours or days without any filtering or biological degradation that occurs en route to other types of aquifers. Construction debris would include salt, which would contaminate the aquifer, and likely other contaminants as well. So this again is another LiDAR image from Will County showing the cracks and crevices in the ground, the ground there. Next slide. Okay, the karst aquifer offers pollutants a direct route to the underground aquifer. To protect neighboring wells and the aquifer, details of the karst aquifer features located in this property need to be identified, protected, and not disturbed by placement of fill on top of it. It's just basically an open opportunity for any pollutants to come in and go right down into that water because of these huge cracks. That's the karst aquifer. Okay, next slide. And the monitoring wells that are described in this slide, this is NRG, the quarry that was being referred to earlier, north of the land, which contains the coal ash. The NRG monitoring wells are not being monitored for construction debris contaminants. So what is the monitoring plan? Especially with salts with construction debris and possibly other contaminants. How fast can that salt and any other contaminants get into the karst aquifer? Very quickly. What is the engineering plan to keep the runoff from the aquifer and the marsh? So we believe the water impacts need to be studied prior to approval. Next slide. And finally, there are archaeological, large collections of arrowheads and Native American artifacts in this area. This scraper was found in the garden at 1815 Brandon Road, just to the south of the property. The presence of these artifacts call for an archaeological study being performed before the vote as well. Next slide. So this is a summary slide. We are requesting delay or denial on the vote on rezoning because assessments on endangered species and marsh have not been done and presented to the IDNR. An environmental impact study to the karst aquifer needs to be done by experts. And we also feel that an archaeological survey needs to be done on this woodland area. Next slide. Thank you. We'd like to thank the committee for giving us an opportunity to speak with you today. And we'd welcome any questions you may have.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a question for her?
I just have a quick question. This is a lovely home, but I'm a little unsure as to what it has to do with this project.
Well, the farm, and there are two homes right there, and that area is indeed being farmed. There's been land in that area as well that has been farmed by, this is Patty Nugent, our president of the network, and her brother has actually been the one that's been farming those lands. And so it's near and dear to my heart. We just thought it would be nice to show that there's other, there are residential homes right near there.
So is he farming the land that is scheduled for to become the construction fill?
Go ahead.
He would be farming around it if you pulled up the picture. He's currently farming the ComEd. He has a lease for ComEd.
Got it.
So any place you see the ComEd marks is adjacent to this piece.
So nothing's going to change about this home. I mean, it's not going to be impacted directly by this project.
I
these
would
two
say
homes.
it would be, there was a lot of flooding problems, possibility, tiles, flooding. What happens when they change the marsh? Is that going to backfill into our fields? There's a lot of water issues that
Okay.
have not been addressed.
Okay, thank you. I just wasn't sure on that.
And the other thing would be the road traffic. You know, how are they going to keep that road clean? What's going to be taken in there? What time? How much is it going to take in there? As everyone knows in this area, the truck traffic is phenomenal. To add more truck traffic in front of these homes would be very detrimental to them.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I have a question for Mr. Washburn. I'm not sure if you'll be able to answer it or not, but can you define what clean construction debris is?
You know, that's probably a better question for my client, but it is defined in the code, and I believe it's mostly, crushed concrete and, things that have coming off of a road or other construction site that has been already sort of sifted, filtered, and processed to take the harsh contaminants and things that would not be appropriate to be stuck in the ground in that manner into the ground. Is that, so it's mostly crushed concrete, I think asphalt grindings, perhaps.
It's not subjective in any way, right? It has
No,
to be tested.
and just to be clear, even if you approve this special use for CCDD, we still have to submit to the state. The state still has to issue its own review and permit before we could ever do anything. And that's a whole nother layer. So there's, again, we believe that it is possible, if not probable, that the state would approve this permit, but that's not a guarantee until we actually submit the forms to the state. But we need the underlying permission to do it before we could even submit those forms.
Every truck goes through some sort of a test, right? Am I right on that?
I believe, do you want to come down, Matt, and just address this? Because you will do it more eloquently than I. While Matt's coming down, I do, if you'd indulge me, want to address a couple of quick points about, there was a very good question about the relevance of the home. That home, and I don't know what the exact distance is, I'll trust staff if they're able to measure it, is actually south of the Gallagher asphalt plant, which is separate. There's 30 feet separating our property from the existing industrial, which is Gallagher asphalt. They are actually south of Gallagher asphalt, which I believe is every bit of 500 to 1,000 feet south of our property. In addition, with regard to truck traffic in general, immediately south of the parcel that home is on, I believe the city of Joliet just approved a new development for a warehousing or trucking facility that will come into existence. So the truck traffic is already there from other industrial developments from the city of Joliet that are beyond this board and the county's actual approval, because those were done long ago. But I'll let Matt answer as to the clean construction debris.
Yes, thank you. My name is Matt Marquetti. We're one of the, me and a partner own this land. President of PT Farrell Construction Company. Yeah, so Mr. Pretzel, your question, most of this, or I should say all of it, is from our main business, which is the road construction business. It's heavy regulated, heavy tested. Probably 95% of projects now, the soil is tested on the site where it's coming from, and then also tested while we're putting the material into our facilities. Currently, we own, I don't know, 4 or 5 of these facilities or similar properties. Mokina, 3 in Joliet. So truck traffic and keeping the roads clean, we handle that. We have our own sweepers. It's just our company dumping. It's not open to the public. So it's not like, certain facilities that are, Chicago Street CCD, which is open to the public. This is just for our use in our company. And then I want to make just one statement on the trees. I apologize. We own property. I never knew that I couldn't take trees down, and Homer was scheduled 6 months prior to them being out there. They said, hey, we can get out there to that window. And we said, okay. So that wasn't something we did, maliciously. It was an accident. And that's something I learned, that if you own property, you have to get approval for those. So any questions I can answer, I'd be happy to answer.
No, thanks. Do we have any questions from the committee for the applicant or the attorney? Okay. I'm sorry, you have a question for staff? Go ahead. Yeah.
So I was just wondering, as far as the studies to be done, do we have any idea if when a study would be started, as to how long a study might take for this?
I do not know the timeline of how long the studies take generally, just because we're not on that side of the process. Generally, the applicant, they're the ones that are completing studies.
And I just want to comment on that too. I mean, we see this a lot where we ask an applicant to do something that they'd have to invest a lot of money and it costs them a lot of money to do. Obviously, they're looking for the special use permit before they're going to put more money into something like that. And I wouldn't expect anything less, right? I mean, that's the order of things. You're not going to invest a bunch of money before you're given permission to do what you want to do.
But they should have to do the study.
They do have to.
So they do have to do the study, so
They can't get a permit to do the work without the study. They're just looking for special use permit today.
right, but they have to do the study either way.
Have to do the study either
They
way.
have to do the study either way.
But they're not going to, if we told them today, we're not going to give you permission to do what you want to do in this lap, then they're going to save the money.
Okay, but do you guys know how long that study would take and what the cost of that study might be?
I do not know off the top of my head what that study would cost or how long it would take. Similar to staff's opinion, these things come up only when they come up, and it's something that typically we go through the approval process. We get the initial approvals subject to whatever conditions. If the conditions are there, the applicants meet them as they go through the building permitting process, and I'm usually due to my own cost to my clients, I'm usually phased out at that point because I'm not a biologist or an engineer on that level. However, even on that point, I do want to make one thing clear. It's been stated by some of the objectors that this is an absolute requirement. And while staff's recommended condition very much would be an absolute requirement, the IDNR report that was issued on October 8th of 2025 very much says, and I'm going to read verbatim, due to the project scope and proximity to protected resources, the department recommends the following actions be taken to avoid adversely impacting listed species and or protected natural areas in the vicinity of the project. EcoCat has indicated records of the state listed osprey occur in the vicinity of the project area. Department recommends, and then it gives its recommendation. And it likewise says the same about the rusty patch bumblebee. So as the property sits today, no special use permitted existence, it is merely that, a recommendation. So while as Mr. McCarty said, we contacted Homer Tree about the trees shortly after the property was acquired. We thought they would be able to get it done within that window. A window, by the way, that we weren't, again, October 8th is when we received that report. We didn't submit to IDNR and the EcoCat until we were ready to bring a case forward for development. Again, to Matt's comment, he was previously unaware that taking trees down on one's own property was not something that the landowner had the right to do. And even inside of the Will County land use ordinances, even on the site development permits, it talks about grading, it talks about fill, but taking down a tree there's no box that says tree removal on the form that would lead one to suspect that taking down one or two or all trees on one's property would necessarily have required any sort of permitting. So again, we recognize we made an error in judgment in that regard and are willing to go above and beyond, the landscaping requirements to make up for any error in that judgment. However, any argument by whether it's the Farm Bureau or the interested parties that this is always a shall requirement is overstating the point beyond what even the state of Illinois was suggesting. So again, we recognize an error was made. We do sincerely apologize for that. We are going to be better. And with respect to the Osprey, if it were approved, that will then become a shall condition. And before we get any permits to fill or do any further, development on the site, we certainly will comply with that condition.
He's saying it says shall.
Our conditions say shall, right?
County's conditions say shall, IDNR's report says recommends.
Yeah. Thank you. You want to come back? Yeah.
I think there's some confusion here between shall and recommended. This county's staff wrote on the 4th state recommendations, the owner operator shall comply with Illinois Department of Natural Resources recommendations. So they shall do the recommendations of the IDNR. One of their conditions was do not touch those trees after October 1st. The landowner got paperwork from IDNR on October 8th. Those trees had plenty of time to survive. If you could pull up the picture of the woods with the property boundary, please. Well, we're not talking removing 1, 2, 3 trees. You can make it larger, please. It's all those trees. Every single tree that you see there inside that red box is gone. It's not, oh, sorry, we made a mistake. They knew October 8th. His attorney got paperwork. It was given to this board staff October 8th. They took those trees down. There was, what is the impact of my family? Every piece of, every habitat, every animal is now being pushed off onto our property. We can't handle more and more habitat loss and allow these species to exist. I would like to ask, what was the cost of removing those trees? What was their bill from Homer? How much did the Homer get to remove those trees compared to what a survey would have been? I don't know. Do you have the cost?
We're,
of what
ma'am, we're not going to allow back and forth between the two of you. just to
Okay,
keep things-
but the cost, I mean, they're talking, that cost an immense amount of work. I had 33 trees removed. It was thousands of dollars. Look at the size of that property, and every tree is removed. And this board must take into account what staff has said. And staff said, you will do what IDNR recommended. It was not to touch the trees. It was to do the survey. It was to give it back to them so they could evaluate it. That's pretty specific. Now, oh, I'm sorry. What's going to be done in the future? That survey cannot be done until April 1st. because the B itself won't be out. We won't know if it's there until it starts warming up. So the recommendation from IDNR is the report should not be done until April 1st to see. I talked to IDNR yesterday, and they said they would be more than willing to have Will County call them to tell them what exactly they should be looking for in this piece of property. And that is what I, as a person who lives next door to the woods, would ask that you do the study before this goes on any farther. Because as you see, this company has already come up and said, oh, sorry, we'll plant a few more trees up in front.
Yeah.
So thank you for taking our time.
Yeah, thank you. You want to take it home?
Yeah, so if I may, I will reiterate, this property was acquired in May. The request to Homer Tree was put out to remove the trees 6 months plus prior to the actual date of removal, long before this report was ever known. The night I stood before the Planning and Zoning Commission to make this report, to make the original case, which again, they all recommended approval of this, I was unaware of any of it. The trees, I'm not sure, had been removed as of that date. Certainly they were in the interim. I was unaware that an order had even been placed. Mr. Marchetti was not here, so he wouldn't have been here to answer that, nor was that question even asked. So the date that the request was made, again, there is no condition today prohibiting any of this or obligating us to do any of this. The requirement is being driven by staff taking a recommendation from IDNR and taking a recommendation, so something that's best practice, and saying this is now a requirement. And we have agreed that if this is approved, we will abide by those requirements and we will go get the Osprey study and we will get any study we are required to do pursuant to the special use permit. And I'm not even suggesting per se that if we were going through and the county's requirement was, we agree with IDNR and it's recommended that before we go to develop the site, we wouldn't necessarily have done it anyways. The point is, we didn't have this report when the request was put into Homer Tree. Homer said they would get to it as quickly as they could, and it turns out that due to their schedule, as quickly as they could ended up being 6+ months later, and it just happened to fall outside the window. Had they been out there 3 weeks later, they would have been well within the window that was prescribed by IDNR, and this may not be a concern. And I've heard repeatedly the objector mention that, they live next door. They live next door. This is going to impact their property. Next door is a 30-foot strip for a pipeline or transmission line easement and a massive asphalt plant, zoned industrial in the county. I don't know what next door means to you, but to me, next door means the next property over or the property across the street, not a quarter mile down the road or however far. I don't know exactly what the boundaries of Gallagher's property is, but it is a fairly sizable parcel. So while, again, they are certainly entitled to their opinion, we are here with favorable recommendations from planning and zoning, with favorable recommendations from staff. And while we do admit there was an error that occurred, it was not an intentional one, it was an inadvertent one. And we are willing to accept the conditions, move forward, and we're even willing, should this committee feel it appropriate, to add an additional condition, something we are volunteering to, do additional, landscaping to help, offset some of the issues. Certainly, we're open to discussions, as to if there's something that any one of you on this committee thinks is, something that can help, ease this concern. We certainly want to be a good partner. My client and his business have been around, we're on what, generation number 3, Matt? Third generation business. They've been a partner to the county, to the municipalities, to a productive business in this county for 3 generations. and they want to continue to be here and operate here. And we're not looking to do anything harmful. This was not, any error was not done with any malice or intent. We simply are here to ask for recommendation to bring this property to what everybody, including the city of Joliet, believe is its highest and best use. And to Joliet's comp plan, as I mentioned at the prior meeting in December, wetlands is not a zoning category. So even though there is some comment in their plan about this possibly being wetlands, we don't know with definitive certainty that that's the case, but the property needs to be zoned uniformly some zoning category. So even if there are wetlands back there, that would come out as part of Matt's approvals through the state. And if it's wetlands, because we went through this in Mokina, can't fill it. They won't give us the permit to do it. So we will take care of whatever we need to do, and we will only do what the law allows us to do. But the zoning at I-2 is appropriate and consistent with this trend in development. Any error was inadvertent, and a recommendation of approval for the rezoning and a recommendation for approval for the special use is what we would ask and request today. But certainly we are willing to, dialogue with regard to the conditions on the special use if there's something that, related to the trees that can be done to help, alleviate, mitigate any concern over the past foible.
Thank you. All right, I think it's time to take this to a vote. You have a question? Yeah, hold on. Member Ogala, did you have one first? Okay, go ahead, Sherry.
The only question that I have is when this was purchased, it was known that it was not zoned for this particular reason for the purpose that they want. And so they bought it with that idea that we'll buy it and then it'll be rezoned so that we can use it for the purpose that we want to use it, even though that's not a guarantee either. I'm sorry, but it just seems like we're going to buy this and we're going to make money off of it and it's going to be profitable for everybody else, with the idea that we have to, as the county board, has to make these changes to the zoning and also for the special use permit. It just seems that this happens a lot of times with the county, and people are buying things with the idea that, well, we'll get the zoning changed and then we can do whatever we want to do with it. And I don't think that that should be occurring. And I do get that, we want businesses to be able to prosper and all of that, but businesses also need to take into account that they just can't come in and do whatever they want to do. So I don't think that we should overlook the fact that that is what's happening here, and it happens frequently. Buy first, change it later. Well, that shouldn't be the way that it goes. And I just don't think it's fair for them to expect that to happen with our, that's what we're going to do for them. Because I know that people are going to say, well, yeah, we want businesses. But again, when you purchase a property, you purchased it knowing that it was agricultural and that there was a possibility that you might not be able to get the zoning changed. Then you would have just been out of the money, and that would have just been too bad for you. So that actually is what's occurring here, and I think that we should keep that in mind. Thank you.
Can you apply for a map amendment on property you don't own?
With the owner's consent.
Correct.
The owner's
And if I may, to address that point, we were at one point in time, this was part of an assemblage of property. This one parcel was not bought in isolation with any specific intent or expectation that it would be rezoned. We were under contract to purchase the entirety of Lincoln Stone Quarry's holdings, including the coal ash borrow pit. Our due diligence led us to back away from the pit itself, but the property north of the coal ash pit on the other side of Patterson Road between the river and the coal ash borrow pit is all already zoned industrial and was purchased at the same time that we got this strip all as one assemblage. So there was no intent, expectation, or guarantee that my client ever expected that this would be 100% guaranteed, nor was it purchased with the, I'm going to buy it and ask permission later. It was bought as part of an assemblage with industrial zoned property that we were inclined to purchase. And the owner said, if you want this, you're taking that. And we said, we're willing to accept that with the risk that we would have to come forward. And we did come forward after we figured out what we were going to do with it, because it is in fact a narrow bowling alley strip of property that is configured the way it is due to the crisscrossing easements, pipelines, and other developments. It's kind of an oddity, and there's not a whole lot of things you can do with it. So upon further review, this was what we viewed as the highest and best use of this strip of property. And therefore we came forward to submit the applications. And again, we understand we made an error with regard to the trees, but that one error doesn't change staff's recommendation, nor Plan Commission's recommendation, nor the trend in development, nor the highest and best use for this ground. It's not suited to be residential. It's not suited to be a strip center. It's not suited to be a housing project. You know, I don't even know that it's suited to be ag if you believe the objectors, if they're concerned about this, potential contaminants. I mean, you have a hole in the ground with such toxic things that Midwest Gen is going to be dealing with it for the rest of our lives. And if this soil is that, porous, cracked, that it's just going to immediately get into the groundwater, would not building up that property and putting layers between the topsoil and those fissures or sinkholes, whatever they, are, wouldn't that not benefit as opposed to detriment the property? So I do understand that there are a lot of people that come through with this, ask for forgiveness rather than permission. That has never been my motto as an attorney representing many, many projects before this committee, nor has it been the trend with my client. Everywhere we've gone, we've always tried to go through the appropriate channels and do our appropriate due diligence. But that's the history that got us here. So I do respect the concern that there are a lot of people that do exactly as was outlined. However, I can tell you that that is not what drove this, nor what got us here.
Right, but here we are, and to me, it really makes no difference what order you do it. I'm looking at it, does this make sense to change the map from agricultural to industrial? And should we allow the special use? I don't necessarily care how you spend your money and whether you bought it before or after we decide. It's not going to change the way I vote. And we're talking a lot about trees, and it is up to this committee to decide, did he have, bad intentions when he cut those trees down or not? Does it matter to you or not? Does it really make a difference? We can't put the trees back. They're no longer there. So what we're going to vote on next is, does it make sense for us to change the zoning on this from A1 to I2? And it's 30 feet away from some of the most industrial property in Will County. So I'm going to base my decision on that. And the special use, it's really up to you guys to decide, do you think that this is good use of that property or not? Again, it is 30 feet away from a quarry. It's all industrial over there. So my mind is made up, but I do think it's time to vote. I see we have a light on from Member Oxley, and then I think we should, okay. Member Oxley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Listening to the neighbors, they brought up a lot of very good, valid points. But if you read the staff report has suggested that they have to do all these things before they would get a permit.
Member Ogala.
Thank you. So this is the first time I've been on the board for a long time. I sit in land use all the time, even if I've not been on the committee, to hear all the different things that are happening. And this is the first time we've had something like this where a project is going in and there's been a possible endangered species on the property, a karst aquifer, and asking for surveying of the woodland area. I mean, that happens all the time. Development happens. This is the first time we've been asked to think about it, to look at it as far as the project goes. So that's my concern with it. So.
Isn't it possible that there's endangered species on any property that we're looking to develop in Will County?
Could be, but not all.
I mean, I just don't want to set a precedent where anytime there's neighbors that don't like a project, they say, well, we better test it for Arrowheads.
Well, there's probably arrowheads pretty much everywhere. I would
Yeah,
imagine.
no, I mean,
Yeah.
I hear you. And that's the decision that you as a committee member have to
Yep.
make.
That's all. I just want to make that comment. Thanks.
Thank you. Are we ready to vote? Okay, Dawn, please call the roll. This is, oh, sorry, this is on the map amendment, again, from A1 to I2.
Frankie Pretzel,
Yes.
Jerry Newclass,
Yes.
Clifford Brooks,
No.
Bullock,
Yes.
Judy Ogala,
No.
and Destiny Ortiz. No.
3-3. Okay. Motion fails. Thank you. On to the special use permit for clean construction and demolition debris fill operations.
Change the zone. How can we give them the special use?
Well, we're just voting on it, right? We still have to vote on that, the full,
Oh, right.
it's really
right,
one of the
sorry.
recommendation, so,
Sorry.
yeah. Is that right, Matt? We're gonna vote on, yeah. Go ahead. Do we need to make a motion in a second on that? Okay, can I get a motion in a second on the special
Motion
use?
request.
We have a motion, second O'Gala.
Support conditions, Frankie Pretzel,
Yes.
Jerry Newclass,
Yes.
Clifford Brooks,
No.
Don Bullock,
Yes.
Judy Ogala. No. Destiny Ortiz. No.
Okay, 3-3. So on to the full board, the week after, a week from this Thursday. Sorry, 2 weeks from this Thursday. Next on the agenda, zoning case 25-123, special use permit for recyclable material drop-off facility outdoor in Frankfurt Township, 11103 West 189th Place, Mokina, Illinois County Board District Number 4. Can I get a motion and a second, please? Motion, second, and then Jesus?
Yes. So the property is zoned I1 and is about 1 acre in size. So it's a deemed a conforming I1 parcel. The property is located within an industrial subdivision with other uses such as truck and vehicle repair, vehicle rebuilding, and various contractor shops are located in. The subject property is improved with a 1-story commercial building that the current metal recycling business runs their business from. A metal scrap business is permitted by right in the current I1 zoning district, only if the entire operation takes place within an enclosed building. The business that currently operates from the property allows customers to drop off their metal scrap in the outdoor bins that are movable and provided by the business. Because of this outdoor drop-off component, the use is classified as a recyclable material drop-off facility outdoor, which requires a special use permit in the I1 zoning district. According to the applicant, the business will be open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. with 2 employees on site. The movable containers will be emptied inside the building at the end of the day and will only be placed outside during business hours. Section 155-9.210 of the zoning ordinance outlines the regulations that the business will need to adhere to, such as the types of materials that can be accepted and the maximum amount of time that the materials can be stored on site. The Planning and Zoning Commission voted 6-0, thereby recommending approval of the special use permit with the 4 conditions listed by staff. Staff did receive 2 letters of opposition for the special use permit request. One was from the village of Mokina, which stated that their concerns were mainly around the proximity of the business to nearby homes and basically the potential of noise odors and traffic congestion basically being a problem for those nearby homes. And also Frankfurt Township did send an email stating that their board did hear the case and recommended denial of the special use permit as well, but their email did not state the reasons why they recommended denial. And with that said, I'm happy to answer any additional questions about the case.
Thank you very much. I believe so. You said Frankfurt and Mokina were in opposition?
Yes, Frankfurt Township and Village of Mokina were in opposition.
What type of recyclables will we have here?
This is basically consumer recyclables, so like metal scrap that basically households have. They're just wanting to drop off at this facility.
There are bins on the outside that you can drop it off. They're going to take them inside at night.
Yes, basically.
Okay,
The entire
thank you.
operations.
Is the applicant here? I invite you down to the microphone and then go ahead.
Yeah,
Member, please.
yeah, this is, you said this was already zoned industrial, correct?
Correct. It's currently zoned I1. So
Okay.
like I said, the current business would be permitted by rights if it all took place inside the building. but because they have those outdoor storage bins where people can drop off
So
their
that's
stuff.
the only reason
That's the
why.
only reason why
If
they're here.
cars were driving in, like out by me, there's a place where you drive in their garage and they unload it.
Correct.
That would automatically be permitted.
Correct, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, hey, welcome. Thanks for your patience. I know it's been a long.
It's all good. My name is Thomas. I'm the agent for the property owner, and I represent the. This lady, the young lady, is the tenant. That is the petitioner for the special use permit to collect the scrap metal outside. Nothing is really changing from the operation. What they've been doing is just we need just the permission from the county to approve to collect the metal outside in county-approved containers, and then when the business hours are over, put them inside. That is all. The property is very industrial, and nothing else is changing. 2-4 cars per day to drop off metal, and 2 employees on site. That's all. They're clean. They're a good tenant. We're actually proud of them.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, please.
So just a quick question. So is it a and I really apologize, none of us can look at our packets. Is this a current recycling operation now?
That is correct. Yes.
Okay, so the only thing different is that you're adding the bins outside.
Adding the bins outside to collect the scrap metal, and whenever it's time for business to shut down for the day, the bins are pulled inside.
Right, got it. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other? Go ahead,
Yeah.
Member Bullock.
This is just for my own knowledge, has no bearing on my vote. Do you charge or pay for the metal that is dropped off? Do I make money? Do you?
Hi, my name is Teresa. I'm running the place. We charge when the people bring the metal. We pay for.
So I bring the metal for free. You pay me for what I brought you.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Is there anybody here from the public that would like to speak on this case? Last chance. Okay, are we ready to vote on this?
Yes.
Okay.
Special use permit with 4 conditions. Frankie Pretzel,
I'm a no.
Jerry Newquist,
Yes.
Herbert Brooks,
Yes.
Ron Bullock,
Yes.
Gala. Yes. And Destiny. Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Number 5, zoning case 25-113, special use permit for an attached accessory dwelling unit at 1458 Elgin Avenue, Joliet, Illinois. Did I skip one? I apologize. Number 4, I skipped number 4. Backing up a little bit. Zoning case 25-121. This is a special use permit for a landscape business at 17958 South Cedar Road, Homer Glen, Illinois, County Board District number 4. Can I get a motion and a second, please?
Motion, Newquist.
Newquist, second O'Gala, and Margie.
Yeah, so this zoning case DC 25121 takes place in Homer Township. The property is 17958 South Cedar Road in Homer Glen. The applicant is Cedar Road Associates LLC, care of Douglas R. Carlson LLC, where Douglas Carlson is a general partner. The agent is Luke Lobos of VHJ LLC, and the attorney is Richard Kavanaugh of KGG LLC. And this property, as you can see on the screen, sits at the S-curve of Cedar Road, where it connects and turns into Bruce Road to the east. This property is about a little over 17 acres. The applicant is considering and working with Will County DOT regarding getting access to the permit, but there's also discussion about actually dedicating that triangular piece that's not connected to the main part of the parcel to the road district for their needs. The applicant is really just looking at using the western side of this parcel. So you can kind of see the middle of the property has a drainage swale that runs through it. They would be focusing on running a landscape operation from the site, primarily the hardscape landscaping type business. Regarding that, their hours of operation would be typical standard, Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Saturday, 7 a.m. to 2 p.m., 12 employees and an estimated 1 to 3 customers per day. At the time of the zoning application or the staff report, New Lenox did not have comments ready, but they did provide a memo following suit. They had comments regarding some of their requirements be applied to their this proposal as additional conditions. The Planning and Zoning Commission did not add any of them, mainly due to the fact that the county's regulations address a lot of the concerns in terms of a site development permit would be required for the site. Any stormwater management practices have to be shown for that permit to be issued. The building itself, they are looking to meet setbacks. And then, of course, largely, they are proposing berms around the property to screen from the south. You can see the property directly south is under construction. It will be a residential property. And then also just berm along Cedar there. In terms of additional concerns, the Village of Homer Glen does not have any concerns, but their boundary line ceases at Bruce Road to the south. So they are everything north, and then New Lenox is everything south. But Homer Township did provide a memo this morning to staff, which I believe was shared with you. Their main concerns are safety. This area of Cedar Road and the S-curve with hardscapes, a lot of times the product that comes in is relies on semi trucks coming to the site. So having a semi truck turn in and off the property where you have that curve, there's some serious safety concerns of the township. But again, staff's position is the entrance curve, the traffic impact study that Will County DOT was going to require. They're not going to issue any access permits until they meet the county standards. And we need that access permit to issue a site development permit or a building permit to get onto the site and do their improvements. That being said, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval with 4-0 vote, adding a condition that to the south, it be a 650-foot long berm with plantings along that southern property line, just to make sure that that's actually installed. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yep, Member Ogala.
So where do they anticipate entering the parcel at? Because I drive that road to go to my sons all the time.
So you can see with their conceptual site plan, it's the furthest to the west as possible. And then they are looking to put the main building that they'll be putting on site kind of centrally located on that western half. And then they're going to be using the outdoor storage area for the hardscape materials to the south and to the central area of the property.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yeah, go ahead, Member Bullock.
I guess this is a staff question, or I don't know. So in this letter from them, I requiring a truck entrance warning sign, I think is that something that we put in there? Is that something that comes from roads, or because I feel like that's a really good piece to put, especially because you're right in the middle of the S. So
Yeah, so any type of entrance concerns and signage regarding traffic, speed limits is going to come from Will County DOT.
Go ahead, Member New, please.
So the letter makes reference to exiting onto Cedar Road. looking up there, is there even a proposed exit or entrance onto Cedar Road? I mean, it looks like the logical entrance would be off of Bruce Road there, right?
So that part of Cedar actually is shared with Bruce Road. It's kind of that blind S curve. So Cedar actually joins Bruce Road for a hot minute between that triangular piece. So I
Yeah.
can put my cursor from this corner and then it keeps running east or west. That would be west. And then it curves up to the north to Cedar. So
Okay.
technically it is Cedar, but it's a section of Bruce too.
Got it. I was just confused by that. Thanks.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
What's the anticipated number of trucks per day?
Mr. Kavanaugh, do you want to come down to the microphone?
I believe the applicant can answer that.
Thank you, Marty.
Thank you, Chairman. My name is Richard Kavanaugh. I'm an attorney with the firm of KGG LLC. I am here representing the Carlsons, who are the owners, but also as the agent for the purchaser of the property. So I only saw this letter from Homer Township this morning. Margie sent it over to me. We had noticed up both Homer Glen and Homer Township and the village of New Lenox and the city of Lockport when we filed this case. The only comments we received were from the village of New Lenox. And in between the time we filed the case and the hearing took place at the Planning and Zoning Commission, we met with New Lenox. We heard their concerns and we modified a portion of the property and the plans to comply with New Lenox. Never heard from either Homer Glen or Homer Township. So Lockport said it's not on our side of the boundary agreement. So that's why they didn't contact us. But we think this is a good, very good project for this particular site. We did have an objector, and the objector at the public hearing complained about noise. Now, you'll notice that there is a berm along Bruce Road and then curving down on Cedar Road. That berm is going to be 4 foot high, topped with evergreens. The complaint from the owner to the south had to do with noise, okay, with the trucks moving on the site. And what we then agreed at the Plan Commission meeting to also berm almost the whole south end. We didn't want to berm it into the tree line at the far west because that's a tree line which separates us from Forest Preserve District property. And we didn't want to berm it at the far east, at the southeast portion of it, because there's a swale there, but you'll see that there are substantial trees at that southeast corner too. But to limit the noise, we agreed to berm the rest of that area, not the west 50 feet, not the east 300, 350 feet, with the same type of berm we're putting along the roadway, 4 feet high with evergreens on top. So we think this is a very good project. My client will be, he is building a building. There will be an office, plus an area for repair and maintenance of equipment and vehicles. They go out early in the morning, they come back mid to late afternoon. The Plan Commission voted 4-0 to recommend approval to you. And we're asking that you make a recommendation to the county board to approve it.
Thank you.
So do we know how many semis they expect a day? 'Cause
There-
for delivery, I mean, wouldn't be that
Well,
often, would it?
Not very often at all, no. I mean, they're filling the bins that you can see at the south, toward the south end of the property.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Is there anybody here that wishes to speak on this case before we vote? Hi, welcome.
Is this on?
Yes.
Okay. I'm Sue Stylen, the supervisor for Homer Township, and I apologize for coming into this late. I should have been at the hearing and I missed it. When this first came across, a landscape business didn't seem like, it seemed like a harmless business for Cedar Road. There's farms in the area, it's ag. But I didn't realize where the entrance was going to be in between these two curves. And I looked at that drawing and I, for some reason, didn't even think about the curve to the west. When I first looked at it, and also knowing that there have been 4 fatalities in that section of road. Well, not just in the curves, but there's been in the last 8 years, and I take traffic fatalities very seriously. One was to the north of the west curve, one was to the south of the west curve, and 2 happened at Bruce and Cedar. And I don't know where on Bruce and Cedar where they, it's just when I did a Google search on accidents, because I remembered hearing about them. One was as recent as October of 2025. And the speed limit on Cedar Road is 50 miles an hour. And when you go south on Cedar up to Route 6, and when you get closer to the hospital, it is 55 miles an hour. So when you are coming northbound on Cedar, say coming from the hospital, and the speed, it drops from 55 and then it goes down to about 50 at Chicago Bloomington Road, and you're entering this curve that you see right here, your eye is focused on Bruce Road to the right, because traffic comes from the right onto that segment of road there. So it's kind of a scary thing that I always look out for when I'm driving that road, because I don't, you've got to look out for the other guy. So if you're looking to the right, you're not paying attention to the left where the entrance of this business is. So it's not about just the semi trucks. What if there's a car turning left into that business? You have very little time to react to a car stop to make a left-hand turn. And then even if somebody is pulling out or turning into the business, maybe you stop, but what about the car that's right behind you that just comes around the curb? So I am requesting the traffic study, and I know that your Will County Department of Transportation requested it, but I really think that you should do it before you grant the permit, because then once this property owner and business owner enter into agreements to build on this property, and then you're telling them that you can't accommodate the ingress and egress, I think that's really a disservice to both parties as well, to try and work it out, because then you're trying to work it out. And so you also have to remove some of the shrub or tree line that's close to the road. You're going to have to cut that back to improve that line of sight, because when you're coming around either of those curves, it's hard to see what's happening in that little area straight away. It's about 600 feet from that little area, the area on the west end of that triangle to the entrance. It's about 685 feet, and then it's a little bit longer to the next curve, maybe 800 feet. So it's really not a lot of distance. So that is just mainly our concern. When I came to the Will County Board to speak about 143rd Street, I ended my conversation saying that S-curve, those intersections need attention, regardless of a business going there, because you have 700 homes being built in that area, and it's already a dangerous area. That's my concern. Thank you.
Member Gold.
What,
sorry,
quick
go back.
question. All right. Is there no traffic yield anything where Bruce comes to the west and Cedar?
There's a stop
sign.
There's a stop sign for Bruce.
So, yeah.
Right, but it's also further back, I think, than, you know, like they've already entered, they've stopped at the intersection of the Cedar, but not like where the curve is. So I think it's a little bit further back. you don't see the stop sign in the aerial though.
There are no stop signs on the curb. The stop signs are on the.
It's on Bruce.
circulated way that-
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Go ahead.
So this is for staff. So has WillDOT done any study on this? I drive that road, like I said, to go to and from my son's house, and it is a wild curve. It is a wild, crazy area. But anything you put there is going to cause an issue. And I just think possibly a lower speed limit would help significantly, because it does feel like, and it's not just flat either. It has a hill to the west, and you come down the hill and you go. So, I mean, I would think a lower speed limit might help.
Yeah, so the applicant did provide comments from DOT, as well as we always reach out to DOT to get feedback for the project. Before I dive into that, I do want to point out, based on this GIS, it looks like there may be a stop sign along like the little frontage road that goes up to Bruce over here where the cursor is on the very right-hand side. And then it looks like there's a stop sign possibly right at Bruce, like as it connects to Cedar. I just go by what I see as the white stripe to stop at. But with regards, DOT is requiring a traffic impact study or some type of memo saying, you know, analyzing the proposed use. They are requiring a site distance study. They're thinking, you know, it may be either right and or left turn lanes, so roadway improvements to this area based on this. They are asking for right-of-way dedication, so again, they are looking to widen this curve. That should also help it not be so strong of a curve. And then in terms of state requirements, there has to be a 10-foot separation distance between the right-of-way line and the start of a berm. So there is like additional setback from the roadway to just allow the berms occurring. And again, all this requirements would be given to Will County DOT before they ever were to issue an ingress and egress permit. And we would take a look as soon as DOT issues that permit. We're continuing our, you know, permitting reviews, and then we could issue a permit provided they actually have that legal access.
Thank you. Mr. Kavanaugh, you want to come back?
Yeah, I just want to acknowledge that we have received notice from the Department of Transportation that they will be requiring additional right-of-way. I also wanted to mention that we talked with Kyle Shanahan at Will County DOT and agreed to transfer to the county the 1.1, 1.2 acre triangle. So they will have total control over that. And finally, in the 20 plus years that I lived in New Lenox, I used to drive up and down Cedar quite often, and the speed limit should be limited.
Yeah, I think we all agree on that.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there's no doubt about that.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
Hello, thank you for being here.
Joe Baber, Village Manager, Village of Homer Glen. First off, I apologize for Homer Glen not responding to this area over there. It is quite treacherous. I drive it quite often, several times a week myself, and you have to be careful. I mean, when the sun comes down, you're losing sight at certain times of certain areas. There's six three-way intersections over there. A lot of times it's hard to manage who's coming and who's going at those intersections, who's doing what. I agree, the speed limit is excessive over there. There's been multiple accidents and unfortunately fatalities as well. We're just supporting a thorough and traffic study for this area. It's our residents right next door there that are on this road a lot, going to Silver Cross. So safety is a big concern for us as well. So I just want
Thank
that
you.
to be said. Thank you.
What does that look like if we ask them to do a traffic study? How much does that delay them, and can we still vote on it today or just make that a condition? How does that all work?
Well, in terms of the traffic study, that's a traffic impact study. They have to do it for DOT purposes. So if you want to add it as a condition, you could, but it's already a requirement.
I don't see a need to do that then. Okay, so they're doing it anyway. All right. Any other questions from anyone? Okay,
Frankie Pretzel,
yes.
Newquist,
Yes.
Brooks,
No.
Don Bullock,
Yes.
Diego Gala,
Yes.
and Destiny Ortiz.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Congratulations. Number 5, zoning case 25-113, special use permit for an attached accessory dwelling unit at 1458 Elgin Avenue in Joliet. Can I get a motion and a second, please?
Motion O'Gala.
Second. Newquist.
Motion Nogales, second Newquist, and then Jesus.
Yes, so zoning case 25113 takes place within Joliet Township. Property address, as you mentioned, is 1458 Elgin Avenue. Property is currently zoned R5 and is approximately 6,500 square feet in size. The property is improved with a 2-story residence and an 800 square foot detached garage. In 2021, the property owner submitted a fire and damage repair permit to remodel and repair the existing home. As the permit was reviewed by staff discovered that the residence contained 4 individual dwelling units. The applicant was unable to prove that the multifamily dwelling unit was legally established. In 2022, the owner attended a pre-application meeting with staff to review options to move forward with improving the property. One of the options presented to the property owner was to formally request a determination of nonconformity, which would allow staff to officially determine if the 4 dwelling units were legally established. As under the current zoning ordinance, the zoning of the property, 4 dwelling units will not be permitted. Or the another option presented was to keep the only 2 units, one on the first floor and one on the second floor. And this was the option the property decided to move forward with. An attached ADU requires approval of a special use permit, which is the request you're voting on today. The Planning and Zoning Commission voted 4-0, thereby recommending approval of a special use permit. As staff didn't receive any comments or concerns from any of the agencies notified. And I'm happy to answer any questions on this.
So this puts the owner in compliance.
Correct.
With our codes.
For only 2,
For only
correct.
2, yeah.
Hey, I was at the Planning and Zoning Board meeting on this. Wasn't there some concerns about the parking? It was a small parking lot attached to this facility, and something came up about several cars being parked around there.
I think that might have been a different one.
Okay, well, since I passed 70, I get senile sometime. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
That was that new construction.
So
Yeah, and you wanted to do a 4. Right. Yep.
I just have a quick question.
yeah, I'm not sure there, oh, sorry.
Oh, no. I
just
just,
wanted to confirm
go ahead.
I just wanted to, there is kind of a small, I guess, if you can see the picture here, there's kind of a small parking area that the residents can use for parking. But I think there was concerns about maybe street parking and how that could impact the nearby, intersection. But at least for staff concerned, I mean, they have a detached garage as well as some additional space inside the property itself that they could use instead of allowing them to street park, which again, that falls under jurisdiction of I believe this is Joliet Township Road District. So they'll kind of be the ones monitoring on-street parking if that's a concern.
So I'm just a little confused. And when I was reading this initially, I was kind of confused. So what is the attached dwelling unit? Is that, so there's the garage and that's not it.
Right.
I mean, so the house, which was divided illegally into 4 units, is now literally going to be divided into 2 units?
Correct. So there's going to be 1 unit on the first floor, and I can bring up kind of the architectural or floor plans.
Thank you.
So this would be kind of the first floor, so like the first dwelling unit, and then the second floor, this would be the second dwelling unit, technically.
And this is in a R1 zoning area, correct?
This is R5 zoning.
Oh, it is R5, I'm sorry, which allows multi, yeah, okay, thank you.
I think we're ready to vote. Is there anybody here from the public on this one that wanted to speak before we vote? Sorry, I want to give you an opportunity. Okay, I think we're ready to vote.
Vicky Pretzel,
Yes.
Newquist.
Yes.
Yes.
John Bullock.
Yes.
Judy Ogala. Yes. And Destiny Ford. Yes.
On to the next one, zoning case 25-128, special use permit for outdoor storage, vacant new avenue, Lockport, Illinois County Board District Number 5. Looking for a motion in a second.
Motion Newquist.
Newquist, second Brooks, and then Margie.
Yeah, so this property is located in Lockport Township. It is, once you turn off New Avenue off State Street, it comes by on like your right-hand side. It is 1.8 acres. It previously had a special use permit approved in 2022 and also was rezoned to I-1. The special use granted then was for outdoor storage. The applicant has submitted their site development permit for the landscaping business that they want to operate from the site. However, this permit has not been issued. So through the process, they have requested a few extensions regarding a fence height variance. But with the delayed site development permit not being issued, the special use basically became null and void. So they're going through the process again with the intention that this time around, the permit can be issued relatively quickly. I believe engineering already approved their portion of the review. They're really just waiting for zoning to sign off our approval. But we need a special use to be approved in that instance. Hours of operation would be Monday through Saturday, 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. 2 employees would be working from the site. And what's different from the last time that they're proposing with their site development is potentially an actual building on the site. So last time, you may or may not have recalled this back in 2022, there was some concerns that they weren't going to have a building, and Lockport had more concerns about the other types of uses along New Avenue. It's a very industrial corridor. There's a lot of buildings with outdoor storage within the city limits, and Lockport really wanted to see something a little bit more conforming to those standards, which is what the applicant appears to be doing. He has yet to apply for the building permit, but that's something forthcoming. Once he gets the operations going, he'll likely come back for that building permit. The Planning and Zoning Commission unanimously voted 6-0 to approve both the variance and the special use permit with 4 conditions. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you.
So that's the aerial of the property. It is definitely severely limited with development because of the grade change to the east. And then there are pipelines towards the southern end of the property as well. So that's what they're proposing site plan wise. They will have to screen it. Outdoor storage requires screening, so they are proposing a fence. One of the conditions also wants to see some landscaping in front of the fence along New Avenue.
What was the surface they're going to use? Is it like crushed stone, or is this paved?
I believe they're planning on gravel, which would be permitted for the county.
Okay. Any questions from the committee? Okay. I think, is there anybody here from the public that wants to talk on this case? This is your chance. Okay, we're ready to vote.
Permit with 4 conditions. Frankie Pretzel,
Yes.
Jerry Newquist.
Yes.
Herbert Brooks.
Yes.
John Bullock.
Yes.
Judy Ogala. Yes. And Destiny. Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Last, under new business, zoning case 25-130, special use permit for a non-conforming use at 29450 South Cedar Road, Manhattan, Illinois County Board District Number 2. Can I get a motion and a second, please?
Second Newquist.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Margie?
So yeah, this property is just shy of an acre. It's 0.89 acres. It is currently zoned C2, which is a local commercial zoning district. And you can see there is a single-family residence on this property. This is a long outstanding non-conforming parcel. This is part of Wilton Center. You can actually, the excerpt map actually shows like Route 52 curving off where this parcel is located. Basically, the applicant is looking to expand their residence, but considering they are a non-conforming use, they need to bring it into compliance. So they're requesting the special use to stay C2 with a residential use, being that special use applied to the site so that they can expand their house and live comfortably. In terms of this, there were no agencies objecting. There was some comments about just not providing any type of access along Cedar Road in this area. Just for safety means, any access would be Arsenal Road, which would be Wilton Township Highway Commissioner. And the Planning and Zoning Commission unanimously recommended approval with 2 conditions. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Questions? Anybody here to speak on this case? Okay, I think we're ready to vote.
Permit with 2 conditions, Frankie Pretzel,
Yes.
Quest.
Yes.
Philip Brooks.
Yes.
Von Bullock.
Yes.
Judy Ogala. Yes. And Destiny Ortiz. Yes.
All right, good news for them. Other business, 25-3937-01, resolution, land resource management plan update. Nick.
Hello. So on Tuesday night, I met with, I presented to the Planning and Zoning Commission for the update to the Fairmont Neighborhood Plan, and it was approved. And now we're currently just kind of working on the design, so I'll probably have that ready by the March meeting, and then bring that forward to for approval to bring that forward to the full county board. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your work on that. Next, sorry?
I just was confused. This is the land resource management plan update?
Yeah.
That is technically part of the land resource management plan. There's also the other part, which we've been working with consultants to
Right.
further that. And then I don't know if David wanted to speak further on it. Or
So we're still waiting on that, right? I mean,
with Tesca and Associates, and Colin's been working with them. They've begun the process. Right now, they're coordinating with department agencies, data collection, and working on various things such as the website for engagement. So it's very beginning stages, and the process has begun.
okay, thank you.
Okay, 26-4191, approval of Doris Robbins subdivision. Brian, tell us about Doris.
This is a 1-lot minor subdivision. It's on Wilmington Peatone Road, maybe half-mile east of Elevator Road. This happens from time to time where somebody creates a lot that doesn't comply with the Plat Act, so you have to do a 1-lot subdivision. This is the case here. For this project, they did make a dedication to Will County DOT to get extra right-of-way for future road expansion, so that was good. There's a home already on the site, so this isn't necessary to build a home. It's just to bring everything into compliance with the applicable laws. They did receive all the necessary signatures from all of the taxing bodies and governing bodies for this area, and our chief subdivision engineer recommends approval.
Sounds good. Doris Robbins subdivision sounds like a pleasant place to live. I think we're ready to vote. Is there anybody here that would like to speak on this case before we vote? I think it's going to go your way. So, okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Can I get a motion in a second?
A motion, Newquist.
Newquist, second. Brooks,
Frankie Pretzel.
yes.
Newquist.
Yes.
Yes.
Von Bullock.
Yes.
Judy Ogala. Yes. And Destiny Ortiz. Yes.
Congratulations. I'm sorry you had to wait 3 hours and 5 minutes to get to that. So we're going to do better at putting some of those up front. All right. Next is 26-4195, second extension request 25025 for zoning case ZC 23006, special use permit for solar energy facility. This one was in County Board District number 3. Again, just a second extension. I don't think we need any additional explanation unless you want it.
We approved it when it was County Board District 1.
Yep. Anybody here to speak on this case? Are you here in favor of it, or are there anyone here wishing to object to this case? Are you guys going to support this?
Yeah.
All right, we're ready to vote. You okay with that?
Don't we need a motion in a second?
Can I get a motion in a second?
Motion Newquist.
Second, Ogala.
You ready? I can do it.
Please.
Yeah. Frankie Pretzel,
Yes.
Sherry Newquist,
Yes.
Herbert Brooks,
Yeah.
Don Bullock,
Yes.
Judy Ogala, Destiny Ortiz. Yes.
Motion carries. Next one, same thing, second extension for zoning case ZC 22096. This one is also in County Board District number 3, Crete. I believe these are
Yeah.
right by
they're
each
right
other,
next to
same,
each other.
same.
Motion Newquist.
Motion Newquist. Second Ogala. Is there anybody here that wanted to speak in opposition to this? Okay. Previous roll Brooks. Second Bullock. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Congratulations, guys. That is all she wrote. I don't have anything to add under reports, communications, correspondence. Do we have anybody from the public that would like to make public comment today? Any public comment? Any need for executive session, Matt? No. I'm looking for, is there any comments from committee members? Director? Okay, just looking for a motion to adjourn.
Motion Newquist.
All in favor? Any abstains or objections? No. Okay, motion carries. Meeting adjourned. Thank you. I have a flight to catch and I'm going to make it, so.